CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. It's time to drop your socks and grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of CoCoTALK. We are here for episode 120. This is the Coco Controls Moog episode. We're also going to talk about some VCF West wrap-up and maybe a couple other Coco-related things. Who knows?
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
All right, and we are here. We are live. We are better than never. We've already got a huge live audience. Sheldon McDonald was here early. Tim Franklin was here. Tim Franklin says, sitting in a bunker, here behind my wall, waiting for the worms to come in perfect isolation.
Waiting for the worms.
Here behind my wall, waiting for the worms to come. Sheldon's here. Joe Burnett is here saying, I can't wait to see this. I don't think he's talking about our show. I think he's talking about David O'Connor. He wants to see and hear David O'Connor and his Coco controlling stuff. He wants to hear, yeah. Nobody's here for us in this crap show. They're here for David O'Connor. So Sheldon is here. Qui-Gon is here. Mark Overholser is here. Matchy is here. Mark B, Qui-Gon, Joe Burnett, Curtis Boyle is here. Nick Marotta. Ken Make It is here in the live chat. If anybody could share this out on Facebook too, that would be appreciated. That'd be great. Yeah, if you could just share this. If you could share this on Facebook, that'd be great. Yeah. All right, and we've got a panel. On our panel, the guy who spent more time sitting in a chair streaming this show. It's a thankless job. It is a payless job. It is a grudging job. But Mark Bosley has been hosting so much content this past weekend with VCF West. Can't thank you enough, Mark Bosley. Welcome back, and thank you so much, sir.
Hello.
All right, speaking of VCF West, one of the guys who was there flying the Coco flag, Mark D. Overholser. We give him crap for being an Apple guy, but he's a Coco guy, and he did the Coco proud this past weekend. He did. So thank you, Mark D. Overholser. We've got from Ron's Garage, running a high-tech audio spectrum analyzer in the background back there. It is Ron Delvaux.
Hello. How you doing, all?
We're doing great, Ron. It's good to have you back, sir. As seen at Hamvention, CorgsCon, at Tandy Assembly, at VCF West, East, North, and South, at Coco Fest. You name it, he's been there. He is the Coco man himself, Jason Reichert. Welcome back to the program, Jason.
CoCoTALK, use only as directed.
The star of our show today, the reason why people are here to see the show, the Lord of the modular synth himself, Mr. David O'Connor is with us. Good day, David.
Good day, everybody. It's
the feed from the weeds.
I better not let anybody down now.
Yeah, right. Everything's riding on you. No pressure, David. And a man.
It's good to be...
Let's go ahead. Sorry, David.
No, I was just saying it's good to be here.
It's great to have you. and the man whose name is so nice, we must say it thrice. It's Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta.
Hello, everybody. I'm the only natural-born Canadian here, so I'm going to nominate Jason as honorary Canadian, so I'm not all by myself.
Hey, Ken's got his $5 ukulele. Excuse me, Jason's got his $5 ukulele.
It's plastic.
Yes,
It's plastic. Yes.
We also have this game was 50% off last week on the free software bin at VCF West, but Nightmare Highway, Nightmare Highway, running in the background there on Jason's Coco. Yes, if you got it for free, you paid too much. Last weekend it was 50% off free, so you could have got 2 for 1. We also have, and a very, this is probably his best effort yet, but Grant Leakey is out there saying, time for another boring Coco Talk hosted by huge ego Stevie. All right, good job there, Grant. Good job there. You tried. We'll give you credit.
At least he tried.
Yes. Vocal Studios here. D. Bruce Moore is here. DeBruce. Hey, DeBruce. And so what a great weekend we had last weekend with our coverage, which hopefully Mark D. Overholser will kind of wrap up for us. So we're going to go around the room right now and just kind of get our project updates, acquisitions, stories to share. Mark Bosley, anything new and exciting with you this past week?
Well, besides, basically I got a new set of headphones.
Okay.
Some other ones up last week doing the VCF West.
Okay. You look like you could be in the pit crew at NASCAR now with those things.
Yeah, this it claims a 16-hour battery, so it should last the episode.
Well, you never know. You never know. If we cut it in half today, right? Yes,
it's going to be close.
Yeah, Ben Drakes from Explore VR is here, our friend across the pond. Good afternoon to you. Ken Reichert says 20% off Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway for CoCoTALK viewers. Mention code CoCoTALK at checkout.
Mention code division by 0 error.
Google off the internet.
Yes. So Mark Bosley's got some cushy new earmuffs to keep him warm in the winter as well. Is that the best thing to happen to you this past week, Mark?
Yeah, well, all last weekend was streaming the VCF.
Yeah.
They get time to do anything else.
I know. Well, thank you for that, sir. Much appreciated. Thank you. You're too kind, and thank you. And speaking of which, it was Rick Adams' birthday this past week too, so we should probably celebrate that with a big
birthday, Rick.
Big fat thank you. You're too kind. Yes. We'll save you for last, Mark D. Overholser, as far as project updates and acquisitions, because you're going to wrap up VCF West with us. Ron Delvo, how have you been, sir?
Well, pretty good. Actually, my back went out this last week, and I could barely walk.
Wow.
And then somebody where my wife works says you should take this steroid pack, and it sucker worked within 2 or 3 doses. Now I'm all back to normal. But anyway, can you make a program that would show all the syntax errors? You probably couldn't, could you? Because you'd be bopped out of the program, right?
What do you mean by well? Syntax error is the error. Syntax error is just a statement. You want to see all the error codes.
Memory. Yeah.
Yes.
Have a program that runs them all. You couldn't do that, could you?
Well, let me ask you this: you're trying to write a program to actually generate all those different errors?
Yeah, you couldn't do it because you'd get bopped out on each one, right?
Yes, unless you did like an on error, or every time you got the error, it would go back. Actually, what I did, to answer your question, though, so all those things have, there's a way to look up what the error is. Mm-hmm. And I had actually written a program a long time ago that wrote it out longhand, because you get shorthands. You get like SN for syntax and $0 for divide by 0. So I had written a program that said on error go to this, and it like printed out in longhand what the actual error was. So there's a way to detect those errors, and so you could write a program to actually write out what all your errors are and what they mean too. But you're talking about writing an intentionally broken program to generate the errors. Yes, it's probably possible by just having this on error go to and have it go to the next part that's broken and have it generate.
Have to have a trap or something.
You'd have to put a trap in there to do it. Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of, sort of, Yeah. So yeah, you would, but because if the program's going to keep going, you would never see the error message break out to the OK prompt, because once you broke out and got the OK prompt, the program has stopped. So you would have to build in a trap that said this error occurred at this point in time, press any key to continue, and then have the program run again. And now this error has occurred. So, it wouldn't be exactly, I think, what you're thinking about, but you could probably do it somehow.
So you could probably write a program and then have your video go. And as soon as it makes the error, you stop it, and then do the next one, stop it, and then show that whole video without having a program run.
Yeah. Or
cheapest way to do it.
Yeah. Or the other way would be when you have this on error thing where it goes to a program, when it prints out the message, have it say end, and it would end that line, but then have the next line return to the next part of the program. So you would have to type in CONT each time for continue, because when you break out of a program, if you type in continue, it picks up from where you left off. So that would probably be the closest thing. I don't think it would be fully automated, but you could script it in a way where you could capture these. You would see the actual error message. Program would end to an OK prompt. You would type continue, it would go back and then run the next wrong code and generate the next error. That's actually an interesting idea.
Idle mind.
Yeah. So that sounds like a programming challenge. We've got all these 10-line challenges and 5-day challenges, and let's write a program to intentionally generate every single error sequence possible.
Yeah.
And intentionally putting errors into your stuff, right? So
difficult one, really difficult one to be OM error, because you'd be out of memory. So if it was out of memory, it wouldn't run. I mean,
it might be the last one.
Save that one till last.
Well, if you did a clear with a very big number, right? Wouldn't that give you no OM error?
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Better you poke in your high memory to be almost nothing.
Yeah. So the easiest one is you just make line 10 say print out of memory end, and that way it just never runs, and the program just blew up before it even started. So
dimension error. You ever get one of those DM error?
Well, yeah, I've been told I'm dim all the time. So yeah. Good question, Ron. Did you have a project update this week? Anything else you wanted to share other than that hypothetical question?
Yeah, that was one of the things.
I think right now, Camp Redmond, I believe, because we are listened to by the leading software. So I believe Microsoft, Google, and Apple have now picked up on this and are going to start working around the clock to come up with this. So the greatest minds in software development will be working around the clock. Jason, the Coco Man Reichert, anything new and exciting with you other than Nightmare Highway?
Oh, Nightmare Highway. That's of course for the other Reichert brother. But just just a lot of it's summertime, so got the summertime stuff. But already trying to get ready for VCF Midwest and Tandy Assembly next month, because they'll be here before we know it.
Yes.
And that's
I know.
Guess that's about it. I have my color baseball here, so we'll
excellent.
Nice.
That I picked up in Cleveland a few weeks ago. So that's
what I'd love to have.
That's
very
about
cool.
it right now. Just trying
getting
to
getting ready.
Just making sure I am ready. I do not want to wait till last
right
night.
Now, if you were in the South, you could say you were fixing to get ready.
Fixing to get ready.
Yeah, I'm
that
fixing
sounds like,
to get ready.
I would get a steak with all the fixing. That's what I think. What do I know?
And David O'Connor, we're going to hear a lot from you today, so maybe we'll save you for after Mark Overholser, right? Since you're kind of our main segment today.
Yeah, there's probably not much point going into anything right now.
Yes. So then now we're going to just move over to Nick Marotta, our resident Canadian. How's it going, eh?
Oh, pretty good, eh? It's, snow just melted, so we're gonna have a couple weeks of summer, and then we'll be all good.
Okay, I see you're playing Tetris in the background there on a Coco.
Yes,
Coco
that's one of the games it's one of the cartridges I had when I had my Coco 3, and I'm anxiously awaiting a second SDC to arrive, which should be here this week.
Okay.
For my Coco 2. So yeah, that's pretty much it this week.
Okay. And in the live chat, Paul Fiscarelli is asking who is going to Tandy Assembly. Okay, so Jason Reichert is going to Tandy Assembly. Mark Bosley.
Very close.
Mark Bosley, Tandy Assembly for you. Mark Overholser. David O'Connor, you were planning on going to Tandy Assembly, right? It's just right across the globe for you.
Yeah, it's just a short swim.
Just a short bus ride.
Ron Delvaux?
No, won't be going.
Have you been to a Tandy Assembly yet, Ron?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to the 51st one.
Okay. The 51st Tandy Assembly?
I'll be in a little jar.
Right, we're gonna bring along Ron's his urn. This is the urn. It's like, listen, do what you want to me, but don't touch my cocos. All right, so you
plan ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna bring your cocos on a road trip with your urn next to them. So,
that's right.
Okay. And Nick Marotta, imagine being in old Canada, probably not gonna make it to a Tandy Assembly.
No.
All right, Tom C., you going to Tandy Assembly? I think we just heard from Tom C. He's going to try to make it to VCF Midwest. And
who's going to VCF Midwest is the real question.
Yes.
Tandy Assembly's easy for me. I mean, I don't even have to leave the state of Ohio. I'm just I'm a short 3.5 hours away from Springfield, Ohio. Yeah, so
super
right
convenient.
around the corner. It's like one of Nick's neighbors.
Yeah. So the challenge for me is just affording the planes or travel fares and then taking time off of work. So you're losing money and you're spending money for me, because I don't have a real job with paid time off. So when I take time off, I'm losing money. And so I can't do, I've already been to Coco Fest this year. And at the last minute, I just booked a flight for VCF Midwest because I'm going to share a room. So it was just my only expense is going to be the airfare. So I just did that. But to be able to do a third event in the same year, especially so close, because what are they in? They're in, when is Tandy Assembly?
Tandy Assembly is 2 weeks
after VCF Midwest. Right. So they're very close.
If it wasn't the distance thing, like Chicago's about an 8-hour drive, but for me, Springfield's 3.5. If that was the case, that's my deciding factor. It's just so darn close. I mean, the only other closest event I've ever been to is Penn Fest, and that was like less than an hour. So.
Yeah. So close, meaning geographically close. But so for me, they're too close on the calendar to afford 2 events in the same month. So if you got to pick one, VCF Midwest is probably the event of the year. It's the biggest there is as far as a whole retro thing, right?
This will be my first one. I'm excited. I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah, so very cool, very cool. All right, so how about we do this? Mark D. Overholser, since you were one of the Fab Four who represented the Coco so well last weekend at VCF West in California, why don't you give us your kind of whole rundown? How was the experience, and how are you? Are you recovering?
I am recovering. It actually took a lot out of me. I was busy both days, and I was busy. I was only there Saturday a year ago. I only was there for Saturday, but it seemed way busier overall. And so I think it was probably a bigger show. Sounds like it probably was, as far as people showing up, the amount of tables they had. Enjoyed representing the Coco. We had lots of interest. A lot of people had Cocos or were interested in Cocos, and got to see a few cool things too.
Very cool. And so and we streamed the hell out of it. When I say we, I'm talking about Mark Bosley. Mark Bosley streamed the hell out of it, especially on Sunday. So we did a pretty good job showing off a lot of the event Saturday during our live show here. But then pretty much the entire day, we probably got 7 or 8 hours of streaming from the event on Sunday for day 2. And thank you for that, Mark B.
Yes. 5 hours.
Okay, so how would you, if you had to wrap this up into the ball of wax, how would you describe the event as a whole?
Me or Mark B?
No, you, Mark Overholser. You were there.
Yeah. Okay. Very educational. Got to see systems I'm not very familiar with, and again, got to share with people that were familiar with the Coco but hadn't really seen them about all this stuff. Many comments from people going, "Wow, I didn't realize the color computer community had so much stuff going on." Talking about new hardware and software. Yeah. That was really amazing. And it's like, the Coco was such the underdog compared to the other major systems, and so they're like, "Wow, you guys got a lot going on." So, anyway. The Apple One's really cool too. First time I ever seen an Apple One in person. And
how many? There was like 10 or 12 Apple Ones.
Yes.
Insane, right?
It was. They figured they had probably 25% of all known Coco ones in existence there.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
armed security.
And of all the things you saw, what is probably the most memorable or had the biggest impact for you?
Well, the Coco ones, because I am.
You mean the Apple ones?
Yeah, the Apple ones. That's a Coco guy. But actually, I have to say our table too. I mean, we had a really good showing. That was really nice presence for the Coco. Other than that, boy, actually, I was more impressed. There was an event last year that had teletype machines that were kind of cool. I didn't see anything.
So the Apollo computer was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I didn't really look at it that much, but yeah, it was too. So.
And the Monopoly table being run by the
by the
PDP 100 or something like that, or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, all digital. So I didn't really play with it, but I took a look at it. It's kind of neat.
Okay. Here's a question from Curtis Boyle. From the people who spent a decent amount of time at the booth, how many were people who had a Coco in the past, and how many were genuinely interested but had never really seen one before?
Well, me personally, I don't know about Rob and Mikey and Tim, but probably 2/3 of the people that spent a bunch of time talking to me were former Coco owners or had Cocos still, or bought Cocos. The other 1/3 were just generally interested in older computers and trying to learn more about the color computer and its history.
Right. Very cool. And would you say, is it safe to say that it was a 100% unanimously positive experience, not only being at the booth, but for the people who came to the Coco booth to see the setup and get hands-on with everything?
Yep.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's kind of interesting that when you're in these events, and I haven't been to a mixed event like this, like a VCF, where you have people who are in different camps from different systems, but it seems like you don't have, when I say camps, I'm talking about there's people who are like, I'm an Apple guy or an Atari guy, but it wasn't the camps like the rivalries we had back when we were kids in the 80s, right? So is the climate generally completely amicable? Everybody's nice to everybody. Everybody's interested in all the systems. There's none of the even like jovial trash talking like, oh, did you hear Trash 80 at all by anybody who came up there? But was it tongue in cheek or was it snarky?
It was more tongue in cheek.
Yeah. Okay.
Bygones be bygones. One thing I found, because again I'm in multiple communities. I mean, I have some Sinclairs and I have Commodores and I have Apples and a Tandy. Is that when people have gotten older, they realize there's other stuff out there and there's other things, and so they know their system or systems, but they're interested in what other people were doing.
Right.
And this at this point, most people have the finances; they can get into other systems.
Yes.
It's like some people are like, oh yeah, I'm looking to get into another computer system. This looks pretty cool. So anyway, it was all very good and tongue in cheek. So yeah, your Trash 80 had a bunch of people. The original Model 1, 2, 3. It's like, nope, sorry, these are the second line color computer.
Right. And this is your second year in a row going to VCF West, right?
Yes, it is. I only went one day last year, and I didn't exhibit anything. But Mikey and I sat down and said, there's no Coco presence here. We really should do something next year.
Yeah.
Mikey did something.
Yeah, and you definitely came out in spades. No, that's cool. Here's another question from Curtis Boyle. It says, what was the most popular thing, software or hardware, for booth visitors?
That's a good question. I wanted to address Ken's issue. We did show them Nightmare Highway, told them based on real events. People thought it was cute.
Okay.
Probably what was the most popular. We had Farfall running on the first day, and a lot of people really liked it. Again, it's something that people have seen before in other game systems. So
okay.
The grasp and play. Popstar was kind of unique, but it looked really good, and so Popstar Pilot. So there was a lot of kids that tried that out. They got the concept right away. And then we were running Circe's Island from Steve Bamford.
Right. On
Sunday, and a lot of people really saw that because it looks so much like Mario.
Right.
And that cultural thing with that. It's like, oh, this is familiar.
Yeah.
And the play is very familiar, and yeah, a lot of people are like, wow. And it's like, oh, it's a new game. Hardware. Some of the people into hardware, they were really impressed. We had all the lids off the Cocos, and the Coco FPGA was sitting there in a clear case, so you could all see it. And they were all like amazed, like, you're running a complete emulated Coco on this FPGA? Yep. See the memory boards, the video cards, the VGA system. We had the Gimme X running the VGA. people were really impressed with that. And they're like, totally blown away.
And that's probably only the second time that's been out in public. It was at Coco Fest, almost under. It wasn't that it was under lock and key, but it wasn't really promoted that it was there. So if you didn't stumble across it, you wouldn't have known it was at Coco Fest. So not a lot of people have seen a Gimme X in the wild yet, since it's not technically released. So that's kind of cool there. Sorry if we're keeping you awake there, Mark B. So
did you also play Simon's demo?
Yeah, we did a couple times on the one Coco 3, so the one from Coco Fest. So
yeah,
that was pretty impressive too. It still had a few hangups though too. You know, the disc format I think kind of binds itself up every once in a while. So
all right, so I think to answer Curtis's question, there wasn't a single thing that was popular. It seems like everything was interesting across the board there. Yeah. Now
what about DK Remix or Pac-Man?
We had both those up too. We had 5 machines basically. We had I should tell you, you can see from the table, but from left to right on the table, we had a Coco 3 with the Gimme X in it and the VGA output. We had a Coco 2 with the Coco VGA in it. The Coco with the Gimme X had a 512 board in it. Then we had a Coco FPGA, and then we had the fourth one was another Coco 3 with 2 megs in it, and it was just running the RGB to the SCART and a switcheroo. Thank you very much, Jason. And then the last system was actually a Raspberry Pi 3 running MAME or XROR.
Okay.
So we had 5 different systems, and different stuff running, rotating stuff around, showing people stuff is really, like I said, a lot of stuff.
Now, you were there 2 years in a row. Would you say this year was a more better attended event than last year? Were there bigger numbers of attendees?
Yes, just from my personal observation, just for Saturday, I wasn't there Sunday last year.
Okay.
Way busier. It was slammed. The room was packed. The official numbers I saw from the email, I think they had 1,100 attendees.
And for us who go to Coco Fest, so we're used to 120 people.
Yeah.
1,100 people. That's an insane number. And it makes you wonder what the numbers for VCF Midwest are, Yep. That's big. That's big. And it was at the Natural Computer what's it called? The
Computer History Museum.
Computer History Museum in
Mountain View, California.
Mountain View, California. So this is a computer museum that's open year round where people can see live machines, big iron machines, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So and it's a great location. So, I mean, based on what we saw, because we saw you guys streaming it all weekend, it looked like a great event. And hopefully by seeing this, we're doing 2 things. Obviously, we're providing a little bit of a public service because not everybody can just get up and go to California, especially if you're in another country. Yeah. So hopefully we're providing a public service by letting you be a fly on the wall, but maybe even giving you some inspiration and a little kick in the hind end to say, hey, come next year. If you were on the fence or if you weren't sure, get up and check these things out and support these events and support these systems and see it for yourself, experience this. So, yeah, that's cool. Very cool. Well, yeah, I mean, on behalf of all of us, thanks for doing that. Yeah, go ahead, Ron Delvo.
I got a question. Did any of the people that run the place, did they come by and see the Coco setup?
I don't remember seeing anybody from the museum itself. I know that when I did VCF Pacific Northwest, I saw quite a few people from the Living Museum, where it was hosted. But I don't remember seeing anybody specifically from, the Computer History Museum. But it might not have noticed, so not always badges and tags and stuff. So
very cool. Well, hopefully we'll see Mikey or Rob Inman maybe later today or next week. But and the thing that to me, I mentioned, we talked about this right before the show. It really looked like you guys were working all weekend. It was almost like it was a job, because every time we saw you, because we didn't really speak to you at all, Mark Overholser, because Mikey was walking around with the portable showing stuff off, but you were always all you guys were like behind the table or in front of the table. You're talking, you're answering questions, you're demoing. So it was almost like this was a job. Show. It was a trade show. This was a job, and we were working all freaking weekend. That's really what it looked like. But it wasn't dreadful work, right? It was enjoyable, but but like you say, you're recovering, so you're exhausted, right? Because it's just
go.
Yeah. Oh, was there an award handed out? Brian Weisler's asking.
Yeah, there was. Everybody got an award. We got for most colorful presentation.
Okay.
With the color computer, was that tongue in cheek?
How did they spell color?
They spelled it without the U, so.
So they spelled it correctly.
I don't know about that.
Now, in the live chat now, Rob Inman is out there, too. So Rob was one of our evangelists.
Curtis had another question, too. He said, people inquiring to buy hardware, software. Yeah, a lot of them were interested, the ones that had CoCos.
Okay, right.
There were some that were, interested in acquiring more stuff, and so we had handout materials and QR
right
codes.
Yeah, that was a great thing that Rob Inman did, having all the little flyers and the QR codes, scan here. You know what it reminded me of when you if you guys remember the movie Starship Troopers, and they kept showing these commercials on TV. Well, today we're going to join the Army and this and that. To find out more, click here, and so it was almost like every single one of your little posters had the QR code. So here's some bullet points on what this is. To find out more, scan here. So.
Probably at least half to 70% of the people, it's like you pointed out something and they took pictures with their phone either.
Yeah, so there were a lot of people scanning those QR codes, right?
QR codes, or just take pictures of the overall information. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. Well, yeah, again, thanks. On behalf of all of us who are Coco nuts and then the Coco community, thank you for representing us and for in full force. So thank you. You're too kind, and thank you. All right, so how about we do this? I'm going to thank our patrons. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and then we're going to come back with our main segment today, which is going to be David O'Connor showing us how a color computer can control analog modular synthesizers. Does that sound good to all you guys?
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to start off by thanking our patrons, and then we'll do a quick break, and we'll be back in about a minute and a half, folks. Don't go too far. All right. So let's thank our patron sponsors, the actual sponsors of our show. We're talking about you, Al Hartman, Alan Huffman, Blair Ledoux, Brendan Donahue and the CocoVGA.com project, Brian Joyce and Extructus.com, Fedor Stamen, D. Bruce Moore, DeBruce with FOD.gracenote.ca and CocoForever.gracenote.ca, David Mitchell, Diego, and his cool project site, yet another color computer site, YACCS.info, Disney Saints fan, Eric Canales and Color-Computer.com, Grant Leedy, Jason Downs, Jenna Fearon, Ken Reichard and CanMakeIt.com, Kyle Eder, Malfunct, Paul Fiscarelli, Frenemythic, Richard Lorbieski, and BOYSONTech.com, Rob Inman, Steve York, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C. and Tom S. Thank you for sponsoring our show. You are all too kind. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Right! This Christmas, Tandy has a very special offer. A family color computer pack to take away at a very special price. This family computer comes complete with software and costs an incredible $449, a saving of $241.69. It's powerful, educational, and ideal for the young and young at heart. The easy way to start computing. The Color Computer Family Pack from Tandy. Get it while it's hot. Tandy, the biggest electronic store in Australia.
As you start your journey to Coco Fest, you notice the road ahead is littered with rogue furniture. You realize you are driving on the Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. The new game for the Tandy Color Computer 1, 2, and 3. Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. Stunning low-resolution visuals. Digital to analog converted sound. 100% machine language and basic. What are they saying about Nightmare Highway? Nightmare Highway. Steve B. York says, of all the games released this year, this is one of them. L. Kurt S. Boyle says, this will not be on my site. Nick Marionette says, crikey, look at the size of that crock. Get your complimentary copy of Nightmare Highway. Nightmare Highway. At CanMakeIt.com. If you got it for free, you paid too much.
Coming soon.
All situations depicted in this trailer actually happened. This true story has been anonymized to protect the guilty. Starting in the dead of winter, a group of bored teenagers blew stuff up, learned code cracking, learned phone freaking, hijacked and hacked. No system was safe. No one could catch them, or so they thought. A true story at the dawn of the internet. System hacked.
And now, Coco Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. If you're using your color computer in Quebec and it stops working, is it now a Coco won't do?
These are the tough questions that must be asked, and we're glad that Samuel Gimes is there to do that for us. He says what we're all thinking. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a special treat for you. And I need to ask everybody on the panel now, too, as David O'Connor starts to do his audio presentation, that we all need to kind of mute ourselves, because any sound you make is going to barge in on his sound, is going to disrupt his playback. But for those who don't know David O'Connor, number one, he's got an incredible beard. What does your beard have a name by any chance, David?
Oh, I haven't thought of one for it yet.
And your beard needs its own name, and maybe it's an Instagram page. So
mine is Roadkill.
Beardy McBeard.
So, David, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and then get into what you're going to be presenting for us today? Because I see a bunch of mission control stuff there behind you.
Yeah, well, my background is pretty much my background. If I can be so corny. Yeah, basically I've been into music for decades. I've mentioned on a few previous episodes, but I won't go into all the full details, but I really started off in the early 80s, about the same time I started off with this very Coco one, which I've had since brand new. I also started off with a Roland Juno 6 analog synthesizer, which was in our school music room, and I was playing trumpet at the time in the school band, and I spotted this synthesizer and took a keen interest in that, and got to taking the thing home and playing around with it. And I didn't know how to play keyboards at the time, and my parents got me lessons, and I learnt the basics, and then all of a sudden synthesizers became my thing. I just fell in love with what you could do with analog synthesizers, and what I've got behind me here is the modern iteration of that 3.5 decades later. So what I have done recently is, I mentioned on a couple of episodes ago, we had this. By the way, if anybody else is on the panel now, you don't have to mute straight away. I won't actually do any audio here, because if anyone's asking me questions or whatever, then it's sort of me just rabbiting on, and I'm not hearing anybody.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But I will do an audio demo, so I'll mention that when I'm just before I do it, and then we can do the mute thing.
Did you say you had a Coco VGA in there?
Yes, in this Coco. There's a Coco VGA. There is also, hanging up the side of it, there's a Coco SDC.
Oh, by the way, we just real quick, David, we got 2 suggestions for names for your beard. So Curtis Boyle said it should be called ZZ Top Junior, but then Tim Franklin says because you're down under, it should be called ZZ Bottom. So, all right. Now, sorry. Back to your question about the Coco VGA.
Yeah, I've just recently, since rediscovering this awesome online Coco community and everyone getting back into their Cocos and the retro scene being so vibrant, it's really been inspiring. But Ed Snyder and Brendan Donaghy have done some amazing stuff. The two of them paired up with the Coco VGA. On my screen here, you might notice I haven't got the traditional Tandy green background going on there. So what's going on here? And And on this one, I can even press Shift 0, and oh, look at that. The Coco one with lower. So that's all Coco VGA. Gives you different modes. So there's a couple of little press buttons on the back of the computer that I can press to change it into different color schemes and modes and whatnot. So I've written this basic program here. It's a fairly simple program. Basic. It's simple and it's basic. So it's a basic program. It's a step sequencer, and I've saved it onto my Coco SDC, which is plugged in the side, which is another one of Ed Snyder's fantastic devices that enables us to save all our programs onto SD cards instead of having to load and save from cassette. I've got a couple of Mega Mini MPIs. I don't have it plugged in at the moment, but there's one plugged into my Coco 3, which we'll see later on when we talk about the keyboards, which is another one of Ed Snyder's projects. But anyway, back to this. It's my original Coco one. It's got the Coco 2 keyboard in it, which I put in it not long after I got the thing. I had it for about 2 years or something, and then put that in it. Upgraded it to a whopping 64K of RAM. And yeah, recently I've added the VGA and whatnot. So here we are. This program, I've made use of this particular mode with a black background and white text instead of the green background. So I can, you'll see why I've done that in a minute. So what I'm doing, this board that we talked about a couple of episodes ago, the evaluation kit board from a company called Second Sound. This is called the Aco160 Evaluation Kit. And this little chip in here, which is the heart of this board, converts any audio signal, any single note, monophonic, mini single note audio signal. It converts it into control voltages and MIDI signals, basically. So control voltages and gates, which are analog voltages, basically, which will control my analog modular synthesizer behind us. So Brian from Second Sound is the developer of this kit, evaluation kit. So I've got this connected now to my Coco one. The other mod that I did when I did the VGA, Coco VGA mod, was I added a dedicated audio output on it, but it's basically still just a 6-bit audio from the Coco. So it's standard 6-bit audio running into the line in on this. This board then is, I've tweaked the levels and I've tweaked the sensitivity settings and everything to match the less than perfect sound of the Coco. And that then converts anything that I send out the audio output from the Coco, whether it be the play command or the sound command, goes into this. This analyzes it in real time and converts it into MIDI signals that go into my Roland System 8 and into analog control voltage and gate signals, which go into the analog sequencer and synthesizer.
So that comes out of the cassette port into that board?
No, not out of the cassette port. It's out of the...
it's audio out.
Yeah, it's audio out. Like normally on a non-modified Coco, your audio comes out of the RF output with the video and then goes into your TV, and the sound comes out your TV speaker.
So if you did a composite mod and you had the one for video and one for audio, the RCA jack, it would be that audio out jack from a composite mod or an audio out.
The Coco VGA has that audio out.
Yeah, so he's taking that and then capturing that sound and basically electronicizing it.
Yep. Yeah. The Coco VGA doesn't offer the sound. You still got to do the mod separately to it, but the kit comes with the needed.
How would you actually explain that process? Because you're technically not digitizing something if you're analogizing it, right? So, or is it doing a digital to analog conversion? Is it doing because it's being output as analogs audio, right? It's capturing analog audio, and then it's actually doing two things. It's then sending it out to analog electrical impulses, as well as digital MIDI tones. So it's actually doing digital and analog output simultaneously then, right?
Yeah, and it's also got its own onboard mini synthesizer with its own oscillator, so you can actually get audio directly out of this from its own synthesizer.
Oh, okay. So you could actually tap a speaker output into its audio out and hear it straight from there without controlling a second synth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a synth on the board even.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tech in there.
There is.
A question from Curtis about polyphonic music.
Well, what would happen if it heard a polyphonic? Would it just interpret it as whatever single note it thought it heard, basically, or?
whatever seems to be prominent at the very microsecond that it's analyzing something, it'll try and turn that into a control voltage in a MIDI note. But if you feed it with polyphonic music, where all the frequency spectrum is changing all the time, and it's not designed for that. So if you throw it with a polyphonic chord or something like that, it will do all sorts of crazy stuff. It'll try and output whatever's the most prevalent at this particular time.
So Paul Fiscarelli is saying this is basically a DSP. It's a digital sound processor. Is that an accurate?
Yeah, it's a custom chip. The heart of it is this little chip here. I don't know if you can see that. You can sort of just see that there. That chip basically takes an analog audio signal and does all the conversion. Everything else that's on this board is just peripheral stuff to.
And what are the audio inputs? Are they RCA? Or are they XLR? Are they like quarter inch, eighth inch? What's the primary input for the audio?
The audio in on this one, if we can see there, is a multi-connector. It's a Neutrik XLR connector or a jack input. So I've got a phone jack plugged into it at the moment.
And I think you had mentioned too. Let's just say we plug a microphone into that jack. You could literally like sing into it, and the notes that came out of your voice would then be converted into electronical notes on a synthesizer. So any sound it hears, it's going to basically play back as a synthesized note.
Exactly. I've got this microphone right here, and I tried that very thing. It's set up there now, and it's not plugged in at the moment, but if I speak or sung into the microphone.
Well, maybe we could work on our little duet of doing West End Girls together, you and I. So. As we were doing that before the show today. So,
I started up with like torture everybody with my
So this program has basically a song that you're going to play?
Yeah, what I've done here. Yeah, because I'm one of my big influences over the years has been, or two of my big influences basically were Jean-Michel Jarre, French musician, who's famous for his first big work was Oxygene, which a lot of people will have heard of, and also Tangerine Dream, German group started in the late 60s, and they're actually still going now, even though their founding member Edgar Froese, he actually died earlier this year. But the band is still going, and he passed his knowledge on to one of the members who's still a current member now. So those two musicians primarily have been a huge influence on me as far as synthesizers and electronic music is concerned. So I tend to like using, like lots of pulsing analog step sequences and even digital step sequences or whatnot to create a rhythmic bed of pulsing synthesizers, which I can then put chords and melody lines and stuff over the top of, very much sort of Tangerine Dream style. So this program that I've got here on the computer is it's the beginning of something more complex. It's just a very simple beginning. It's just a 16-note step sequencer. There's a data statement, line 260. If you can, I don't know whether you can see that there, O2, octave 2, C, octave 3, C, octave 2, E flat, so on. So it's basically a data statement containing all the codes for a 8-step sequence, basically. And the program will then step through those 8. This line 180, if W equals W plus 1, if W is greater than 8, and W equals 1. This is basically being used, this is an array. So A string W is basically an array of 8 notes. And this will then step through those 8 notes one at a time and play them.
And so it doesn't use the sound command?
Or the play command, similar to sound command. The play command is an extended basic,
Okay.
Yeah. I can use the sound command. If I type in here, like I'll do an example right now. I'll type in sound, say I type in sound 100, I'm at 20. That will actually, what you'll hear here is not the Coco sound. You'll hear the actual sound of the analog synth. If I just press enter.
Yeah.
Right. So any sound that Coco makes is going to be played on one of his devices.
Yeah. And I can even type in, like if I type in the play command, play, let's just make a trill or something like a third. I'll just go EG. I'll just type in a whole lot of EG. It'll do that sort of thing. If I just play that, that's actually literally playing the analog synth right there. So,
cool.
So yeah, this is
All right, so do we need to mute now so you can run your program? Should we mute ourselves now?
Okay. Yep. What I'll do now is I'll just I'll demonstrate the program. I'll run it, which is just going to be a step sequence. And I'll just get up and for a couple of minutes or whatever, twiddle some knobs and hopefully not bore everyone to tears.
All right, so we're all going to mute, and David's going to wow us with some. This is basically our color computer, but what you're going to hear is going to be that rack of electronic stuff behind David there, being output and controlled by our Coco. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right,
the Coco is going to be every note that you hear will be being played by the Coco.
All right, I am muting myself now.
Okay. I'll just get this camera out. There we go. Now let's flip around my camera. Do that. And if I go on here, let's see what we can do now. I'll type in run and very move that back in there. What's going on here? There we go. And yeah, there we have it.
Wow, that was really cool. And I could see your little program. You could see like the little status bar going across. So it showed you the notes as it was changing notes, and you saw the like little timing things kind of scroll back and forth. So that's a neat little visual display that your program's showing what it's doing while it's doing it. There was a couple of questions in the live chat too while you were playing that. One of the questions is coming from Qui-Gon, who is Michael Brandt, who's also a magician, right? Because you musicians are kind of like magicians anyways, right? So he's a musician. And what was Michael's question? He was asking how you were outputting this. If it was at MIDI or was it CV, I think. And I think you answered that question, but since he's asking it again, do you want to explain how this is outputting to your synths?
Yeah, it's actually both. It's MIDI and CV. I'm running things layered here. I'm running the modular synthesizer into the Roland System 8, which you saw when I panned the camera around. Mm-hmm. And I've got the effects in the Roland System 8 running like delay and reverb layered on the input from the modular synth. So basically, this little board, as I was saying before, it's outputting MIDI and control voltage and gate at the same time, the same data. So I've got control voltage and gate and envelope. Actually, it's got 3 outputs here. I've got that going to the synthesizer, and I've got MIDI, the MIDI 5-pin DIN MIDI there going into the Roland System 8. So they're basically both playing the same thing at the same time. So you already have layered sound right there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm layering the System 8 with the modular at the same time. That's what you heard before when it was finishing, and it finished on the high notes.
Yeah.
I turned the oscillators up a couple of octaves on the System 8, and then rolled off all the top end until basically the filter closed on the modular, and you were left with just the sound of the System 8 at the end.
Yeah, so, that's cool. Now, there was a question from Ken Reichert saying, could this also then be output back into Audio Spectrum Analyzer? Wouldn't that be cool seeing the spectrograph running on a Coco while this was running too? You know what I mean? I mean, technically you could. Right?
I should have done that. Put one of my other Coco.
For the full Coco experience, we got Coco on the output. We got Coco on the input. We're analyzing what we're doing here, right? So that would be kind of cool. And it did sound... And we had some good comments saying that, yeah, we need to hear more music like this. I mean, if you're into retro computers, hopefully you're into retro music, you know, and this is some retro sound and stuff here, right? So,
is this going to be the most expensive sound chip solution for the Coco?
Yeah, well, it's taken me 35 years to put it together, so...
This is your prototype. When do you go to mass production? So...
Yeah, mass production. That would, yeah.
I'm not interested if it doesn't have a real-time clock, personally. So
it does have a real-time clock. See, there's a real-time clock right up here in the corner.
So you're able to also record this digitally,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think one of the earlier questions too was how do you if you, as you're turning your dials and you get to these different sounds, how do you remember that if you like that sound and you want to use it again? How are you able to remember that sound you just made when you started turning these dials in this certain direction? So
that's one of the arts of learning modular synthesis and analog synthesis.
Yeah.
I've been playing around with this stuff for 35 years, since 1984.
He knows it.
No, pretty much backwards and inside out and upside down because we're down under. Basically the thing I really love about modular synthesizers too is the fact that you don't have memory in it. And every time you patch something, you get something slightly different, even if you remember how you got it last time.
Yeah.
And those differences can sometimes lead to inspiration, which will lead to a dramatically different sound, and you can end up with an entire new song just as a result.
Yeah, we do have a request for Nick Marotta to play the ukulele next after this, so
we'll have to do a live thing where Nick plays the ukulele over the top.
Yeah. We got Jason on the $5 ukulele, so that's probably good enough. Cool stuff. So any more questions from the panel or from the live audience about what David O'Connor is currently doing here? And this is really just kind of, this is like a phase 1 alpha proof of concept on just making some simple software. You've got more grandiose plans on controlling things, I imagine, down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, in the coming week or two or whatever, I'm planning on actually elaborating this simple program that I've written here, and having one with memories and programmable sequences, and you can flip between the different sequences live in real time. And I've got this idea now. The next album I think I'll do after the one that I'm finishing at the moment. I've got an idea for actually doing an album where I might even use the Coco as the basis for the entire album, and do like a Tangerine Dream style album with all this electronic music, but have it all programmed and controlled by the Coco.
That's cool.
So it won't need you after a while.
It'll have a mind of its own.
Yeah.
It'll be
when the machines rise in 2038, right?
Well, either that or it'll be you can't do that, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave,
I'm sorry, Dave.
My mind is.
Dave, could you plug me in, please?
Access denied, Dave.
There's something so I'm not even sure what the adjective I'm looking for here, but when you patch things in, like in the old days of when you played the guitar, you had a separate pedal for everything. So you knew when I kicked on the distortion pedal, it was on or off. These were like toggle switches, right? So you had your whole banks of pedals for your guitars. You could turn your flange and your echo and your delay and your reverb and your distortion and all these things. Each one was a separate physical foot switch you turned on and off. And the ability to control things and connect things in that way, in that very direct, kind of patchy kind of way, it was at one point in time, it was the only way to do things. And nowadays, everything is so integrated and electronic. Now there's sound processors that do everything, and it's just you pull up program code 12, and it's got the digital version of these 15 pedals all together. But there's something so cool about this yellow wire here goes to this thing here, and I have got a like you're like a telephone operator, like patching things in one moment while I connect your call, and you're in complete control of what you're doing, where it's going, and hopefully you know what the hell you're doing, because I'm already confused looking at all these wires. This looks like a scale model of a Paul T. Barton project with all the colored wires on it. But
can we ask for an encore for a short time?
You want to hear some more of this?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Oh, we did get a request for you to play Freebird. Can you do that in Leonard Skinner? So play some Freebird, man.
Over here in Australia, it's usually play K-San by Cold Chisel. It's like anyone who's in Australia will know what that means. It's a classic pub song. I guess that's the same.
All right. Well, Rondo, because you're going to hear this, or is this for your bathroom break, Ron? You can actually listen to it?
No, yeah.
Okay, so we have a request for an encore. I'm going to go ahead and mute. We're going to mute, and we're going to hear David's musicianshipness.
All right. Okay. Well, I'll do the. Let's run that again. Let's just turn down this and down, and I'll hit the play button, and I'm going to fade things in slowly here. So.
Welcome to Tokyo, Japan.
And the interesting thing is that was basically the same pattern over and over again. But as you kept changing the instruments, you were changing the feel and the mood, and sometimes it sounded like strings and stuff, and you had all these. It's just a very simple pattern, but as you changed the sounds and it kept going over, it just felt like the music was kept, getting all these extra flavors to it. It was really cool.
That's pretty much the essence of a lot of what they call Berlin School music. And the term Berlin School comes from the Berlin School of Electronic Music, which was a school in the 70s, 80s that taught the techniques that Tangerine Dream used to do all their music. And Tangerine Dream would very much do that. They'd do it live. There'd be three of them on stage, and they'd have one doing the analog sequence and changing things just like I was doing there, and then they'd have somebody else on one side doing mellotron strings, and somebody else doing a lead line over the top, and that's the essence of pretty much Berlin School Tangerine Dream style music.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. Like on your we should plug your current new project that people can buy online, or Pulse Eternal, right? You should definitely plug that. But your first track, it's like a 16-minute track, and it's just a lot of just listening to this. It's almost like being at the beach, just having this gentle wave of this whole musical thing washing over you, so it's really cool. The music doesn't have to be like pop music, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus, verse, bridge, you can just have this ambient trance just, wash over you for a really long time. Like you got requests for encores, so it's, if you're into electronic music, if you're into mood, and in this case here, Moog music, man, you can eat this stuff up. So very cool stuff. You want to plug your latest project and where people can get it?
Yeah, well, just we're talking about pulse, pulsing sequences and pulsing steps and things like this. I recently come up with a new project. It's called Pulse Eternal, and it's based on this style of music. So my new project is I've released one album, which is now available on iTunes and Google Play, and stream it on Spotify. But we only get 1 cent per 300 plays on Spotify, so it's best to buy the album if you want to support it. pulseeternal.com. If you go there, you can listen to it on Bandcamp, stream it for 3 times for free on Bandcamp, or listen to it on if you like it. It's available there to purchase for
Well, I got it. So
I got it too. I got it on Google Play, and I've listened to it several times. And it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I listen to a lot of electronica chill, and this is a very cool analog version of that style of music.
Really appreciate the feedback there, Stevie.
Yeah, and I think I was telling you before the show, a guy who works with me now, he's European. He's originally from the UK, spent many years living in Germany. He loves, electronica, like chill, down-tempo stuff, and I played it for him a few times. He enjoyed it too. So,
cool.
Oh yeah, so Ben Drake's saying it reminds him of Tubular Bells as well, right? So,
well, I can't forget Mike Oldfield. He's another big influence for me too. So, one of my favorite Oldfield albums is actually an album called Amarok. So if anybody hasn't heard Mike Oldfield's Amarok album, it's incredibly dynamic. And it goes through all these changes, and it's like a whole 60 minutes long. It's one big long song. And it was basically Mike Oldfield saying to the record industry, go and get lost, but forget your radio play stuff. I'm going to do what I want to do. And he did this amazing album, which was just about impossible to play on the radio, but it's an incredible album. It's a real journey.
Yeah, Korn has a song about that too. Korn has a song. Y'all want to sing? I say F that. F that,
Yeah,
F that, right? Y'all want a single, say F that.
Yeah, that's my kind of music. Uh-huh.
Oh, good stuff. So any more questions or comments from the panel or the people watching and listening right now? Anybody have questions for David O'Connor?
David, this sounded like a sequence we could play instead of crickets when we're waiting for stuff to load.
Yeah, is that like you're saying?
What was that?
Is that like you're saying that's like the audible equivalent of the spinning hourglass? This is like your hold music whenever you're waiting for your computer.
Yeah.
So,
Your call is very important to us. Please hold the line. Your estimated wait time is 300 minutes.
There we go. Maybe there's a market in that. Let's try it.
Oh, I would love for you to produce something for the show, either a new theme song or an outro song or something we could use. That's a David O'Connor original.
Could you try your mic? Were you going to try your mic?
Oh, can you sing into it? Sing into it. Yeah, let's.
All right, let's just. I haven't actually. I reckon it should be pretty straightforward to play. I've actually got it set up for this, but I should be able to just unplug Coco and.
We don't want to see blue smoke, so take your time.
Richard Atkinson is asking if you have a Yamaha D85 back there.
Yes, it is indeed.
Yeah.
There it is. That's it there, the D85.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic organ. Love the thing. It's, that was a fairly recent acquisition, actually. I only got that this year. And yeah, it does the Hammond organ sound better than some Hammond organs up there.
Wow. I always thought Korg had one of the better Hammond rock organ sounds for keyboards.
What's that whirly thing they have in some organs? What do they call it?
Leslie, I think.
Yeah,
Leslie speaker. Yeah. These got a Leslie speaker, and the one sitting next to it, which is off the camera, has got a Leslie.
Smoke on the water.
Hang on. What do we got?
I know. I just know too much dang trivia.
Testes 1 2. Testes 1 2. Testes 1 2. We might need to mute again so David could sing.
Wait. I've got it set up. Oh, yeah, of course. I've got the steps. That's why it's doing weird stuff. It's trying to play a sequence at the same time with my voice. So it's going to be a bit tricky.
Oh, that's interesting too.
Yeah, I'd have to repatch it to suit my voice, but it does work with voice. I have tried it before, and I don't have a very good singing voice, so I'm not going to torture everybody anymore.
Well, I think the cool thing about that is that if you could think of a song that you could hum the tune and turn it into electronic notes, either MIDI or analog for a synth. So you don't even have to know how to play an instrument. If you could just verbalize your melody, you could start recording stuff. And theoretically, if you're doing it through MIDI, you could do multi-track recordings, right? So you could lay down the rhythm and the leads and all the instruments and all the layers. You could do it all with your voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, because in a way, our voices are instruments. Some of them are better tuned than others. But
that's for sure.
Aye.
Mine's the $5 uke.
The $5 uke.
There we go. That'd be my singing voice.
Jerry Davis.
Yep.
You have so many pianos.
Pianos. Cool stuff.
These didn't call it pianos.
Pianos.
If I just pan across you'll get a bit of some stuff behind.
That's like calling a violin a cello. Or
I think a
fiddle.
piano, that's like the Yosemite Sam pronunciation.
That's right. Give me a sarsaparilla.
Play me some of that piano music.
You got their piano music there.
I think that Panic on Funkotron that my son did was partially done on the synthesizer also.
Now, does that board require any power, David?
Yes, it does. Yeah. It's a 9. I think it's a 9-volt plug pack that plugs into it.
Okay.
No, you don't have to like up your amp service for your home to run that.
No, no. Actually, that's interesting you mentioned that, because this entire setup, my studio, the home, all the lighting, my contribution to CoCoTALK at the moment, everything here is being powered by batteries at the moment.
Crikey. That's a beauty of a battery. Yeah.
For Stevie, that's what when he says batteries, he means batteries.
Yes.
Just so you know, Stevie.
Oh, by the way, too, so, since we were saying earlier your beard is like a ZZ bottom, should we be calling it ZZ bottom or ZZ top? So
funny actually, because ZZ top over here, we do pronounce it ZZ top. We don't pronounce it ZZ top.
You don't stop at ZZ top.
It doesn't sound right.
Doesn't sound right.
Ladies and gentlemen, ZZ Top.
ZZ Top with their latest hit, Tube Steak Boogie, right? So,
here in Canada, we do not say ZZ Top in Canada.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Some things are sacred.
All right.
It's not LA. It's LA grunge. It's Lagrange.
Lagrange. All right, well, we're going to take a brief commercial break, and then we're going to come back. If you have more questions for David O'Connor about music in general, analog, modular synths, Coco controlling and sequencing, other things, ask him after the break. But when we come back, David's also going to show us something that's going to kick off our news segment. Teaser here. He's going to be showing off the new Ed Snyder Coco Mech keyboard for the Coco 3. The commercial I'm going to run right now is going to plug Retro Swag. A lot of us on the show right now are wearing our Coco colors. So we're wearing a CoCoTALK shirt or an I'm a Coconut shirt or anything like that. So those are available at our Retro Swag shop, which is 8bit256.com. And I think, although I don't remember, there might be a promo right now if you order something where there's a promo code and you get 15% off. I don't know if that promotion's running now or if it's soon or we just passed. But anyway, so shameless plug for our Retro Swag shop. If you want a Coco t-shirt, CoCoTALK, I'm a Coconut. If you want an Atari, a Commodore, a ColecoVision, Sega Genesis, NES, we got all kinds of cool retro designs on t-shirts, coffee mugs, and mouse pads. And you're going to find out about that right now when I play this commercial. And we'll be back in about a minute and a half with more CoCoTALK. Thanks, guys.
Hey, have you got your Coco 3 yet? Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Ram and Shanghai. And you've tuned into CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer Stevie Stroh here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our Retro Swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the Retro Swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you.
The Radio Shack TRS-80 put the world of color computing into your home. Instant loading program packs turn any color TV into an exciting game arcade. And there's more. The color computer is an educational aid, a home management tool, an up-to-the-minute electronic information service. The programmable, expandable TRS-80 color computer from $399 only at Radio Shack, the biggest name in little computers.
Hi, I'm Bruce Moore, and this is Jacob Moore, gotcha. And we are the Forest of Doom guys, and the Coco Forever guys, and we are Coco Fest, and we love Stevie Stroh.
Imagine a different world. A world where Tandy Corporation has the upper hand. Where the Coco surpassed all competitors. And all you have to do is travel back in time without making a single mistake.
Coco Forever.
How does it feel? I'm still believing.
You definitely are in this office.
Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
You want to grab some food before we head back and look at that Alt Reality OS9 module?
It's only 40 years past due, but yeah, sure.
Computer shopping has never been better at Radio Shack. Here's proof. Our new ultra-high-performance 386SX 20 megahertz computer with 85 megabyte hard drive, only $12.99. And it's from Tandy, manufacturer of the best-selling PC compatibles in America. Or get a 286-based Tandy home office computer with color monitor and hard drive, only $899.95. Shop your friendly nearby Radio Shack. Great selection, superior service. Nobody compares.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
And we're back, everybody. Thank you. And we did hear Rick Adams at the top of that commercial break there. And if you're not aware, this week marks Rick Adams' birthday. I think he's 29 this week, that Rick Adams. He's a spry young lad.
Hey, don't forget, the other game that's not mentioned there that you can still buy. It's, I believe you can still buy. It's called Bomb Threat.
Bomb Threat, yes.
The Lost game that he recreated.
Absolutely, on the Retro Swag Shop.
Yeah.
At 8bit256.com. Thank you. You're too kind.
And that Coco Forever commercial, I stop right there.
Stop right there. We heard it from Legend.
I got another question for David.
Go ahead, Ron.
David, can you poke that to high speed and then play it?
Yes.
On your Coco one.
Yeah, the thing that changes is the pitch will go up higher.
Yeah,
it'll do.
Okay.
It's basically converting any audio signal whatsoever, any single note at a time audio signal. It will convert it to control voltage.
Plus, it'll be faster, right?
A little bit faster and a little bit higher.
Higher and faster.
Yeah, higher and faster.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although what I've done in this program, actually that's something I was going to mention earlier on, is in this program I've made use of the Coco Timer command. The timer is basically a clock that runs continuously in the background, counts from 0 to 65,535 and then resets back to 0. And it keeps on counting no matter what you're doing, except if you're loading something from cassette or doing a joystick thing. I think it stops it. I'm not sure. So what I've done, because different parts of this program take different amounts of time to execute, it'll play the first 8 notes, then it does there's an extra little bit of a routine there to change some graphics on the screen. So there's a longer pause there. So if I didn't use the timer command, the computer would have no way of knowing absolutely what gap there is between each note. So what I've done here, if you look at line 210, it says play A string W plus pause 8 or P8 pause 8. So that's the line there that actually plays the notes. So immediately after it plays a note, line 220 says timer equals 0. So that resets the timer back to 0. And then just before, then it runs through all the rest of its program, 250 go to 160, loops it back up to 160, which is a 4 next loop to step through each of these notes in the data statement here. But when it gets to line 200, just before the play command, it checks the timer value, and if it's less than 4, then it won't play the next line until it gets to 4. So 200, if timer is less than 4, then go to 200. So it goes back to line 200, repeats that. And once a set pause has passed, it will then allow it to go back and play the next note. So what that basically does, it allows the program to maintain precise timing, no matter how many, whether it's doing something slightly different each time, if it might be analyzing a different note or doing a different part of the program, it will always wait until timer equals 4 till it plays the next note, and then resets it straight after. So,
right, and basically the color computer's timer is just counting CPU cycles. So the timer equals 4. Even so, if you use the poke to speed up the CPU, you've sped up the clock rate. The notes are going to play a little bit shorter. So technically that count of 4 is going to be a shorter count because the cycle is faster, but the notes will be shorter too. So it should all relatively still work.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it does. And I've actually tried that. It does. I've actually got at the start of the program, if I just do a list minus 50, just the first few lines, line 10, I actually added in there poke 65494, 0, which is the normal speed.
Which just turns it off. You're putting it back into normal. You're forcing it into normal speed as you start the program. Yeah.
Yeah, because quite often I use the 65495 high-speed poke on different programs or whatnot, and I was experimenting with it with this one, and rather than type it in every time I want to run the program, I just had that set so that it always do the same thing. But yes, it will work at the high-speed poke, no problems.
Cool.
And what are you running on your audio spectrum analyzer back there, Ron Delvo? What are you analyzing?
Whatever is coming through from our program.
Oh, so right now Audio Spectrum Analyzer is analyzing CoCoTALK right now.
Yes, but delayed.
And it's looking like we are coming up mostly on the high end of the spectrum. So there's not a lot of bass in our show.
It does pause too on occasion. Why, I don't know.
I'm gonna talk lower right now because I'm all about that bass. No treble. I'm all about that bass. I know there's a delay here, but I'm not seeing the low frequency show up on your. Well, we're getting mid range right now. At least I see some mid range there. Okay.
Oh my God, is that James Earl Jones?
Nick Marotta. I am your father.
You need an electro voice RE20 you need there for that radio voice.
Yeah, right.
Well, the other thing is my cable's modified. I have the, you see here, I have a couple of, what do you call it? Diodes, or not diodes, resistors or something.
Oh, resistors. Resistance is futile.
It's a mod to make it work for WeFax better.
Ah.
He's got the Borg mod done to it.
The Borg mod. We fax ya. Curtis is asking if I'm implying that the panel is high. I don't know if the panel is high, but the spectrum analyzer says we are. Cool. So any more questions for David O'Connor music-wise? Because we're going to get into a different type of keyboard, and it's not a musical keyboard, but it's a QWERTY-style keyboard. Last call for David O'Connor musical questions.
I have a question. What does the unprocessed output? I got something right there. What's the output out of the Coco sound like before you process it?
So I can demonstrate that. I've actually got a speaker built in.
Okay, everybody mute yourself again because this is going to blow your mind.
Yeah. Who's going to wipe the screen?
Mouse cursor. There's a mouse cursor.
I've literally disconnected the input from this the evaluation board, the converter board, and I've plugged it straight into the input on my monitor because this has built-in speakers. So this is what the Coco is actually doing. So yeah, that's the actual sound that the Coco is producing.
Neat. I was just curious where it started.
And which one did you prefer, Jason? Did you prefer the Coco synth?
Did I prefer the Coco? My first answer was going to be Cool Ranch, but I think that's Doritos. No, obviously the processed output.
That was like.
I was just curious what we started with. That's pretty cool, though.
So we took the crappy Coco sound and turned it into something epic.
I got one more question.
One more question from Ron Delvaux, everybody.
Remember the Musica program?
Yes.
And all the different songs you can play in it. Couldn't you just output any of those songs right into that?
I think they're multi-timbral.
Yeah,
songs.
but in Musica you could turn off other instruments, so you could mute the voices and just pick one primary voice and output that.
Yeah, actually you could do that. And what you could do, you take it a step further than that too. You could play that one and record that on a multi-track thing, and then go back and mute that one and play the next one.
Yeah,
and play that through a synth and do a multi-track version of it with an external synthesizer. Yeah,
right.
Sure.
Cool. So yeah, because Musica will play 4 instruments at the same time, but his output device can only listen to one instrument or one voice at a time. So we would have to do one voice at a time in Musica output to get it.
And yeah. And, that's, I mean, basically in the early days of synthesizers, analog synthesizers, in the late 60s and early 70s, or even to the mid 70s, most analog synthesizers were only single note at a time back then. So the mini Moog, that's a single note at a time. And the one underneath here, that's the modern version of the mini Moog. See that there? That's we can see there. That's a mini Moog Voyager.
Now, when you say one voice at a time, you're not talking about only being able to press one key on the musical keyboard at a time. It's not monophonic. Could you hold down 10 notes polyphony on the actual keyboard and do chords, or did it not even support chords?
No. What I'm saying is these synthesizers in the early days would only play one note at a time. If you played 3 notes, it would only pick one of those 3 notes and play it.
Oh, so you could not get a chord?
No.
Oh, so it was literally monophonic. One. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking one track, but you're actually literally one note.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
okay.
yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And that's what the Coco's are.
Yeah, mini Moogs are known. You do lead lines on them and bass lines and stuff like that, and sound effects. And yeah, mini Moogs are known for their bass lines and lead lines. It's if you want a big fat bass sound that'll shake the world, mini Moog's the way to go.
Cool. Okay. Any more musical questions for David O'Connor? Going once, going twice. All right. So now we're going to talk about a different kind of keyboard that David O'Connor has. We are now going to talk about the Coco Mech keyboard, the latest creation from Cylon Industries. And this is going to segue into our news section because a lot of people are posting their Coco Mech pictures on Facebook this week.
Should play the Coco while you're doing that.
Go on a bit of a wander through my studio here. Let's turn that light off, turn this light on.
Time for news.
And I flip over my camera to the other camera.
How much battery time do we have, David?
Oh, it's on full. I've had it running on the charger all the time. So right here, in front of me right here, we have Ed Snyder's Coco mechanical keyboard. With this custom color scheme in my Coco 3, which no longer has its chiclet keyboard.
That's nice. I like the white, gray, and gray look. You got dark gray, light gray, and white.
Yeah, my camera's doing.
It's very monochromatic.
Yeah, I've actually got blue key caps for these as well. Ed sent me a tool to take them off, but I actually like the light gray and the dark gray.
It really
does.
I do too.
A really professional look. And as we talked about earlier in the show, there's the Mega Mini MPI and my other Coco SDC. So I do have that plugged in, but I don't have it set up at the moment. But the point here is we're talking about these absolutely wonderful mechanical keyboards, and it's just a delightful thing to like. It's really, the feel is really, really top notch. It's nice and clicky and very. It's a pleasure to type on. It really is. It's better than the Coco 2 keyboard that's in my Coco 1. It's significantly better. Big step up from it.
We'll have to see what the coffee test does.
The coffee test. Yeah, Curtis Boyle says this color palette matches G Shell. So the grayscale. So.
Yeah, but it's I did have a little bit of. I think Stevie, you've got some of the photos. I don't actually have the case apart on this. I actually, for once, actually screwed one of my Cocos together. So this one actually has its screws in it. The other 4 of them I've got here don't have any screws in them. But when I was putting this in, this is a PAL Coco 3, and the motherboard's actually slightly longer. And because the motherboard is slightly longer, there's a middle support that Ed has supplied that goes just under this part of the keyboard inside it. There's a support underneath here, which fitted fine. And there's the other regular supports, 4 supports that are exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can't switch over to show a view of that right now.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Okay, so here's the picture you sent me in Discord that I'm showing right now. Here's one of them.
I'll go back to. Hang on. Where was my? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that one there. That's a side view of it. That's showing the. Yeah, just there. That's showing that the board in the NTSC versions of it, the motherboard actually is shorter and it sits level with the side posts that mount the keyboard. And you can see from that photo that on that left-hand corner of that, there's a couple of electrolytic capacitors, and on this particular Coco, on the PAL ones, those electrolytic capacitors just clear the bottom of the keyboard. So what I've done, I've put a little piece of electrical tape over each one just to make sure that nothing is going to short out on them. But it does clear. They don't actually touch it, but they only just clear it. So
what do you do for the top piece?
it doesn't really need it.
Oh.
I've found that with the 4 supports on the sides and the one big support in the middle, which you can see there, that one in the middle, the one at the bottom of the picture, bottom middle, that big long black piece, that's one of the main supports that Ed supplies, and that sticks on, and that holds the keyboard in place quite solidly. So by the time you've got the other 4 at the sides plus that one at the bottom, the keyboard is actually in very firmly. It's not going anywhere.
So you don't have to put the black grommets on?
No. Any rubber grommets or whatever that are on the edges of those supports need to be taken off before the keyboard's put in.
Gotcha.
Then it fits in nicely. So,
okay.
But it's in very, very solidly, and with the case screwed in together, holding it down, it's not going anywhere. It's solid.
Very cool.
Yeah, and the markings. I mean, the laser etching. You can see there. If I go closer, the markings on the things are just superb. Really, really. Ed's basically marked these with a laser, and he moves the keyboard one at a time to do it. It's quite an intensive process.
Yeah.
But
and you've intentionally left your break key blank, so there is nothing written on there. It's just your red key.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There is a lighter red that Ed's using now that he can actually etch the word break or whatever else you want on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this. It's pretty obvious. Red means stop or break.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So, Ed actually, the first versions of it he did without etching the arrows on the arrow keys, because the arrow keys are in an arrangement there that's pretty self-evident.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting look, but I actually prefer it with the arrows on them.
Me too.
Yeah. So
if you really wanted to screw with people, you could just not print anything on the keys, and it's just like, dude, figure it out, right? So.
Yeah.
The economy keyboard, it comes with a Sharpie. You could actually draw in your own letters and symbols.
Yeah.
So that would go well at VCF, huh? Hey, what's that?
I'd like the circle R letters. I'd like the circle R Radio Shack symbol on the break.
Oh yeah, the little R. Yeah, that would be cool.
Ed is actually taking. He will print a custom thing if you supply him with a bitmap file for the actual what you want on the key. He'll actually. He said it's theoretically possible, or not theoretically, it's possible to actually print anything you want on any key.
My face on the break key. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah. Well, he did actually do one. You'll probably see it in the news segment coming up. But there's some photos that have been posted on the Coco Facebook group of the break key with a Cylon on it, which is kind of appropriate for Ed.
Yeah. We're being asked if the home keys have the nipples on them. The H and J.
Yes.
H and J.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Nice.
I didn't have to check that, but yeah, they do. Yeah.
So the home keys do have nipples on them, Curtis. He's calling them pips, but I believe they're actually called nipples.
Is there a line through the 7 and a line through the Z?
The F and the J are the ones that have usually got the little mark underneath. I don't know if you can see that, but they're really close. But,
move your finger out of the way so we can see it.
Yeah, I'm just pointing.
Oh, you're pointing to it. Yeah. It is kind of hard to see with the light, yeah.
Yeah, but they are there. I can assure you they are there. So just on those two keys on the F and the J.
Okay. So there is no line through the Z, and there is no line through the 7. And there's no line through the 0 either.
You probably could get them customized.
Yeah. I did. Oh, yeah, no, there's not. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And they should write out the word Z on the Z key, too, just so you know that's the Z key.
Can you get that in Comic Sans?
I want mine in Webdings.
Webdings? Talk about ciphering, right? We're being asked, can the keycaps come off? And I believe the answer is yes, but do you need a special tool to replace to snap the keycaps on and off or anything? Or
yeah, I don't know whether you actually need the special tool, but Ed has supplied me with a tool to do that because I've got blue keycaps for the arrows if I decide I want to go that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have actually got the tool here for it, and yes, the keycaps do come off.
One other question here. Will the white yellow evenly with the case?
I don't know, but the yellow might white if you put it in this. No, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, but
will it need retro brighting in 30 years? We'll have to wait 30 more years to see it. By that time, the Coco shell will be ash, and the keys will need to be put out in the sun for a little while. So, right next to Ron's urn.
Now, I thought I read somewhere that it actually said that you should put all your case screws in. So,
yes. Yeah, Ed does specifically.
He does suggest to stabilize the keyboard.
Right. So, so in your defense of having all the screws in your case,
you're no Coco owner. If your computer is screwed together, you're not a Coco owner. Mine's got a quick release hood. I can just pick it up and get to the guts at any time.
My Coco 3 doesn't even have a top on it right now.
Yeah.
He offers a different color under the keys.
Here's one of my other Coco ones. It's got no screws in it.
Yeah.
Here's another Coco one. It's actually that's the one I've got. That needs another keyboard, and it needs a video chip at the moment. The video chip's died in that one.
Yeah, I have a Coco one with no screws that I got in one of my, and it doesn't work either. But it was a freebie, so no biggie.
Yeah, on the other end, we saw it on a couple of other episodes, but that's my.
Is that Coco 4 prototype?
So I've got a multi keyboard sitting in that at the moment, just to see the work.
Retro Innovation says don't have a screw loose. Now we've got a real troll here. So Grant tried and failed. So we got a real troll here.
There's the professional.
Yeah. Very cool stuff.
That's Coco now. My Coco 3 is now fully hot rodded. It's got the Coco SDC. It's got a Mega Mini MPI. It's got Ed Snyder's Coco Mech keyboard, and it's got 2 meg of Boys and Tech Boomerang RAM. The only thing that's missing now, and it's going to be added shortly as soon as Ed releases, is the Gimme X.
Yeah. So there is a question from Ryan Winter. Are there adapters to convert the Coco Mylar connection to USB or PS2? And that answer is yes. I'll switch to my camera real quick just to show you. I don't know how mass-produced this project is, but do I have... so what I have here is I bought this from Chris Hawks at CoCoFest, but it basically is a ribbon cable that will accept your Coco Mylar connection. Let me see if I can find this. Wow, I never thought I'd have such a hard time reaching into a bag in my life. I have receipts and crap inside the bag. So yeah, it kind of looks like this. So this is where you would plug in your Coco Mylar connection, your keyboard connection, and then the output from this actually outputs to a kind of a micro USB. And so this would convert a physical Coco keyboard into a USB keyboard that you could use on a Raspberry Pi or emulator. So if you're replacing your old Coco 3 keyboards with your new Ed Snyder mechanical keyboards, you could then take your old Coco 3 keyboard and plug it into a Raspberry Pi or use it for an emulator, things like that. So the answer to the question is yes. So it's Chris Hawk from Hawk Soft is the guy who makes this. I'm not sure how many he makes or how often he makes them. You can definitely reach Chris Hawks on the Color Computer mailing list or probably from the Glenside Color Computer website, glensideccc.com. He's on the mailing list. I don't know if he's on Facebook, but he's reachable.
Is there electronics on that cable that converts things?
Yeah, there's some type of little Arduino or something in here that does that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's translated already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd have to be to do the conversion, the actual, the protocol conversion.
What did that cost?
I think I bought it for. I'm trying to remember. I think it was $35 or something. I don't know. But it's something that he has made in the past. And just so you guys know too, so Chris Hawks is the first one to kind of come up with the genesis of what we now call the Coco Pi project. So Chris Hawks was one of the first people to have a Raspberry Pi running a Coco emulator. And for many years at CoCoFest, he's been running a demo where he's got a Coco 3 case with the Raspberry Pi inside, and it's actually got the Coco 3 keyboard on it. So it looks like you're using a Coco 3, but it's actually running a Raspberry Pi. So that was the genesis for the project that Ron Klein has just kind of been taking and refining. That is now the Coco Pi project. So
is that real tall dude?
He's kind of tall. He's got a white beard, and he has like a lab coat with like 400 buttons and pins on it and stuff. And yeah, that's Chris Hawks. So, so would you overall say you're very pleased with the keyboard, David O'Connor?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's not just pleased. I'm delighted with it. It's like I said, the Coco 2 keyboard's got quite a good feel to it. The one that's in my original Coco 1, but this is on another level. It's
really not terribly noisy. I know some people like the sounds as well as the tactileness, but it's not as loud as like your F-type connector like the Mark Overholser has, Type F IBM, but it probably feels nearly as good, right?
Noise-wise, I would say it would be on a par with the Coco 2 keyboard. It's slightly clickier because they're proper mechanical switches in it. But noise-wise, I would say it'll be almost the same level-wise as noise-wise.
So when you push a key on these, you actually have a contact that's going to get like that, right?
Yep. It's a proper switch. It's
a mechanical switch. So you have that kind of springy tactileness of the switch, but you also have the benefit that these switches could be replaced. So if a single key switch went bad, you could replace that one switch. Unlike right now with the Mylar, where if something goes bad in the Mylar, you've got to pretty much throw the keyboard away.
Yeah, on the bottom side of the keyboard on this, you've actually got direct access to the solder connections, so you can literally unsolder them and replace them. So if I get the mic really close, see if I can get that close, and if I press it quietly, you'll actually hear it click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a muted version of David Ladd's blinker. Yeah.
It does.
For those of you who had the pleasure of hearing David Ladd's blinker on Zoom or Discord, you know what we're talking about.
David Ladd and his turn signal orchestra.
Yeah, that's a beauty of a look in the Coco there, especially for a little LED mod on there too. So you've got your little power light on the side.
Yes, little light there. And the only other thing I need to do is, and I'm onto this, Carlos Camacho is doing
the badges.
Yeah. So to get a 2048K bubble badge go in there.
Yeah, and Mike Rowan and Cloud9 are also selling a badge similar to yours, which is the metal kind of embossed or engraved one. So there are the original kind of Tandy metal style ones that you can get from Mike Rowan or Cloud9, but then there's also the ones that Carlos is making, which are more like the dome covered badges that were on the Coco ones, like that wide rectangular, almost like space bar looking badge that was either left or center on the Coco 1. He's got those for the Coco 3, so it's kind of the clear dome top badge. So I'm sure different people will have different preferences, but there are a few choices there when it comes to those badges. So,
yeah. And Carlos is doing it with the memory allocations. He's doing any of the memory allocations for the Coco 3 as well, and also the 2 meg one. He does in ones that say 2 megabytes or they say 2048K.
Yeah.
I personally prefer the 2048K one. I think
it's like people with little children. How old is your little child? Oh, he is 18 months, right? No, he's a year and a half, right? So it's all how you look at it. 2048K sounds better than 2 megabytes. Same stuff, right? So,
just take a look. Take a look at this picture and think of when '86, when the Coco first came out. If somebody from the future came back and said, "Look at this," you're going, "Wow!" You would just flip out.
It's only going to take 40 years, but this computer will get a good keyboard. Hang in there.
And multi-pack and SDC.
Hang in for that Donkey Kong port.
Yeah.
You'll fly your car to Radio Shack and you'll be able to get a
Yeah, about that Radio Shack thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Better get those free batteries now.
Well, that's probably a good segue as we get into the news of things, because there are a number of articles relating to the new Coco keyboard. Everybody who's getting them is posting their pictures on Facebook this week. But I thought I would start off with some MC10 news. We're gonna cover some MC10 stuff, some Dragon stuff, and some Coco stuff. So I'm not sure.
New keyboard for the MC10.
There is a brand new keyboard for the MC10. Yes, but
MC10.
Yeah, so this was a thing. I'm not sure how new this is, but I just came across. It's from June 15th, so this is hot off the press. But at the speed of things get posted in the MC10 group, this is like one of the top 4 recent articles. So other than Jim Gary's 5 games a week that he puts out. But so our good friend Roger Perea was mentioning an article in Rainbow when they were first talking about the MC10, and they tried to come up with coining a phrase where they were going to call this the Poco Coco. And he was just kind of commenting on the use of the Spanish language and the interpretation of it. So Poco is not really referring to size, but more to quantity. So if you say you have a small amount of something, like I grew up in Miami, and there's a very old saying in Miami, when you say, how's it going? They say, mucho trabajo, poco dinero. It means I'm working a lot, but I'm not making a lot, right? So poco usually means not a lot of money, but poco doesn't mean small in size. So we said it was kind of a poor choice in words, but it was made by a non-Spanish speaking person. So there was a movement or a suggestion to call the MC10 the Poco Coco. You know how well that caught on, right? How many of us have referred to the MC10 as the Poco Coco, right? I think
Spanish for doorstop?
Exactly, el doorstapo. So I came across that one. Another
Pico Coco.
Yeah, Pico Coco. Pico would be Pico is smaller. So the cousin to the MC10 is the Alice computer. And so here's a cool picture, and we don't see these all the time. And so this is the French MC10. So this is the MC10 that doesn't bathe, has armpit hair, and has an attitude, right? So but the
sorry, friend. Go ahead and issue an apology to France now.
Yes.
Send your postcards too.
We're sorry if any off-color comments were made. We're sorry.
You're going on a red MC10. See what you've
done. So what are we doing here? So
next article.
We're no longer spotlighted there on David. So yeah, we had David's face right in center. So yeah, so this is kind of cool, right? And I don't know the actual how it happened, what the transition was, how we got to the Alice. I don't know if Tandy, when they got rid of the MC10, if they sold the designs to the company who made Alice. But so for those of you who are familiar with the MC10 and you're a collector, this might be something you want to have in your collection. Notice it had the same memory upgrade in the back that the MC10 did. And interestingly enough, too, there was an adapter for this that gave it joysticks. I think John Linville had posted he had gotten that. I think John Linville has collected one of these. And the joystick adapter would plug into the memory port to give you joystick ports, but it didn't give you any memory. So you had to give up the memory to get the joysticks. But so these are kind of crown jewels of the MC10 collectors, I would assume. And honestly, I wouldn't mind having one. If I came across one, I would get it if it was reasonably priced. I don't think I would spend $100, but I would spend maybe up to $100 to get one if I saw one myself. But whatever. You guys familiar with these? Anybody seen them? Anybody familiar with the Alice line of machines?
Yes.
I've just seen them online, and it's just like I have the MC10. It's like, but I always go for the red one and stuff. So now I want the red one.
I mean, this would be I
have a red hard drive, So.
Right.
You'll go far, Alice. You'll go far.
It would be real easy to take an MC because normal MC10s are relatively cheap. Right, you can get. I'm not sure though, but if you had a spare, maybe spray paint one red, and it's to make a custom.
Rattle can and MC10. That sounds awesome. I want a red printed case for my memory expansion for my MC10.
Yeah, contact John Strong.
Right? Exactly.
Matra, right?
You don't need the high-speed poke on a red MC10 because red ones go faster.
Yeah.
Maybe I could just put a racing stripe on my regular MC10.
Yeah.
Insurance costs are higher too, though.
So this had microcolor basic, and it played that Pac-Man game, right? So
that's actually a really good game. I played that. I had that running at Coco Fest.
Yep.
I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like, this is really fun.
It was a good thing.
All right. In our Dragon group, our UK brethren, this was posted from Richard Atkinson. This is a mock-up of Mario using our two. This is like, if you had to choose, what do I want to have? Do I want to have brain cancer or colon cancer? This is like your choice of which of the two color palettes to choose from on the Cocos, right? So do you want ugly green or do you want ugly teal as your background color here?
Sorry, Uncle Paul. I'm sorry if you're listening to this.
I mean, our color choices on the Coco were just horrific. You know what I mean? It's like, but when you arrange them the right way, this actually looks halfway decent. Right? So this look, especially the blue and yellow and red version, that looks very much like a Mario. Too bad we couldn't have a black background. So, but these were we had 4 colors and we had 2 palette choices, and this was them, right?
Mario has jaundice.
Yeah, you got a liver condition.
Never forget.
Yeah.
The one on the right is when he's shocked.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know if I'm not sure. No. So these wouldn't translate the same because green is color 0 and the white is color 0 here. So you couldn't just do a screen shift and get this one. These were actually redrawn with different. So you couldn't just automatically do the screen shift to change these 2 different colors. But it's kind of like Puyin. Puyin did a good job with using the color set on the right with the purple and the orange and the green and the white. These are colors that just don't in nature occur naturally, but somehow the Coco used them, and if you use them well, you can make good use of it. I think this is a cool exercise in what you can do with the limited palette. I think the one on the left probably looks closest to the arcade.
Rob Inman's being a little delirious on his comment there.
Green
What does he say? Pac-Man on the MC-10 is the technological achievement of the moon landing. That's not necessarily nice to say there. So, so a cool picture, right? So this gives you some ideas. And actually, as Mark Overholser was mentioning at the top of the show, Mario as Puyin looks fine. Matchy says, Mark, where was I going with this? I don't even remember. Oh, the game that we were playing at a VCF West. So Steve Bamford's game on a green background, it still worked well, and people saw it and recognized it as a Mario type game. So depending on how you use the colors, you can work with the green background. It's just not a normal background most people would use for anything that wasn't a sports game. Usually you think green for grass, but unfortunately green was our 0 color. Our background color was green, and that's what we had to work with. But cool little mock-up on something to do there.
Green is color 1, by the way, not 0. 0 is black.
Well, no, in the 4-color mode, it's color 0.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. My apologies.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yep. Chris Poacher posted a picture in the Dragon group. So Microdeal was like the big company, right, for the Dragon, I gather, right? Almost everything was rebranded as sold through Microdeal. And so here's a picture of him getting his... now, here, the Dragon MMC, I'm not super familiar with this. This is kind of like the Coco SDC for the Dragon, right? But I think it also does cassette files as well as disk images. I kind of sort of know enough to be dangerous. Who else knows about the Dragon MMC? Anyone?
MM stands for Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
Which is very British, yes.
Yes, yeah. But obviously you can see there's an SD card here, and he's loading something off the SD card. Now, I don't know if he's loading this as a disk image or a cassette image. But that's a cool picture, right? So he's loading up some stuff on the Dragon. So I'm assuming this is similar to the Coco SDC, but not exactly the same, right? So I kind of pulled up that picture. I thought that was kind of cool looking. I'm actually interested in this because I do have a Dragon, and one of these days I'm going to unbox it, and I'd like to know what to do with it. So cool stuff.
We can put Coco cartridges in it.
Yeah, I think you possibly can. Here's another one here too. So this is a crossover. So this is a Dragon with audio spectrum analyzer.
Yeah, right.
Cool.
And the music's actually coming off of a cassette. So very analog.
How do you run a Dragon in North America?
Well, this is the Dragon group. These guys are in UK.
No, you have a dragon. You said. Though,
Yeah, I have a Tano Dragon, which is the U.S. version of it.
Oh, there's.
He has the Radio Shack sticker on there.
Oh,
He did, yeah. Let's go back to that. How do I go back to that? That was kind of a hybrid picture. He's got
for the music.
I don't know. Ask me if I care. It's a more important question.
Do you care?
Negative, Ghost Rider. So obviously,
no West End girls.
No West End girls here. So here's our cassette playing the music, and then somebody noticed here too. Yeah, he's got a Radio Shack sticker on his Dragon label there, right? Right. So, anyways, I thought that was kind of cool, and so the
very cool.
The caption for this was, "Could this get to be any more 80s?" Right. So you're playing a cassette tape on your 8-bit system, running Audio Spectrum Analyzer. Cool stuff, right?
Yep.
So Paul Shoemaker, who, as you know, recently brought us Dungeon Crawl, which was kind of a Telengard inspired game for the Coco, looks like he's working on a mock-up of Castle Wolfenstein. So this is our tease here, right? Can I make this any bigger? That's what she said. Castle Wolfenstein. Yeah, so we've got artifact colors here. Right, so we got some blues and blacks and whites here, and that looks good. I don't know if right now if this is just strictly a mock-up of the title screen, if he's begun any pre-production of the program or not. Let's see what the comments here say. I don't know. What do you do? I was asking. I don't know. This is going to require me to read. I don't feel like reading right now. But anyways, you're going to see here, there's a picture of this, and this looks cool. So if this is a tease of what's to come, if we get an original, because Castle Wolfenstein, I think, debuted on the Atari, and it was wasn't it like a top-down game, Mark Overholser, where you're looking down at things?
Actually, the Apple was on the Atari.
I mean, I meant to say Apple. Yes. So yeah, it debuted on the Apple II. And it was kind of 2D, top down. You move from room to room, type game before it became Wolfenstein 3D and everything else. So,
actually, the guys who did that were big fans. Three of the four programmers that did Wolfenstein 3D were Apple programmers, and so that's the game they liked, and so they wanted to do a modern version of it.
An homage. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, speaking of badges, we don't need no stinking badges. So, this is Eric Canales of the Glenside Color Computer Club, all-around nice guy. So, he's actually got two different badges here. He's got, as we mentioned, this is the Carlos Camacho version of the badge. This has got the clear dome top. I still think it's a metal badge underneath there, but it's got the glossy overcoat. So there's one that says 2 megabytes or 2 MBs, and there's one that says 2048K. So depending on how you want to tell the world what's under the hood, what's in your wallet on your Coco 3, here are your choices here. And it looks cool. What do you guys think? Do you guys like the glossy dome type badge, or do you guys like the flat metal plate badge?
Yeah, I like it himself, personally.
What's that? I heard David. What were you saying?
So I like the glossy one, the Coco 1 style one, personally.
Yeah, it is preference. What do you like, Ron Delvo?
Yes.
You like them both?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I'm a little particular to the metal one, just because it looks more like the factory stock one. But if I was to get a badge for a Coco 1, I would want it to look like the Coco 1.
After you put your new MPI on and your new keyboard, you can freaking do a different kind of label, right?
Yeah, might as well.
It look nothing like them.
Right, it's basically like a custom car at this point, right? You've changed your grille and your headlights and your tail lights and your running lights and everything else, right?
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I don't remember. It is kind of preference, but the nice thing too is, as we'll see in the next picture, I think Carlos has pictures of the various badges that he offers. So there are badges that he offers that never existed. Just like there was never a badge that Tandy offered that said 512K for the 512K Coco. And there was never a badge for 2 megs, obviously, because Tandy didn't make a 2 meg board. I don't think there was a 64K badge like this, right? And I'm not sure that there was an official 64K square memory badge. I know there was like the 16K, the 8K, the 32K. Remember the square badges that went in the corner of the silver Cocos? And they did away with those badges after a while.
Right here.
Yeah, I don't know if there was ever an official Coco 64K badge, but I know there were 64K badges from the Model 3s and Model 4 TRS-80 lines that are floating around eBay and stuff that are the same size, but I don't know that they made one for the Coco. But I think Carlos has those. So Carlos has got Color Computer 2, and these ones say Radio Shack TRS-80. But I think he's got some of the square ones too. I thought they were in these pictures. But you can kind of see from the different angles here, they're kind of got the kind of clear domey thing on top of them, right? So
he does actually, yeah, he does have the square badges too. That was one of the first things he was working on.
Yeah.
The Tandy did actually make a 64K square badge, but I don't think they made it for the Coco 1. I actually do have one here.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that was probably for a Model 3 or 4.
It was, and I've got one here.
But technically, it would have fit. It's the same size.
Yeah, and it's got the glossy bubble coat over the top of it as well. I've got one here in a brand new packet that hasn't been opened yet.
Ah, neat. So this is some picture of Carlos's badge. So Carlos's badges can be released from the colorcomputerstore.com, I think. Nick Marionettes says he thinks there was a 64K badge, and maybe there was one in Australia. I don't know if there's one in the U.S., but I'm not sure. And in a way, it kind of doesn't matter because there's only a few sources you can get new badges from now. And so Carlos Camacho and the Color Computer Store is one source, and I believe Mike Rowan is another source for badges. So here we go. This week, there were a lot of people posting pictures of their Coco Mech keyboards. So this is one from Rob Heil. And he's got a similar color set to what you have, David O'Connor. And it looks like he's got the Cylon on his brake key. He's actually got, and that from this distance, it looks like Bender from Futurama. It's kind of hard to tell. But, yeah, and I like the dark key. Well, his is actually not exactly the same because he's got some dark keys. He's got like 3 different shades here. You had, white, gray, and light gray, right? So this isn't exactly the same as yours.
Yeah, no, the enter and the shift key on that one are the light grey and the arrows are white, whereas the enter and the shift key are dark on mine and the arrows are light grey.
Yeah, there's just so many frickin' color combinations now for these keyboards. And so he has what looks like the Triad memory board there because you got that little slash thing there. And then there is his there's his keyboard. So yeah, there's been a handful of people posting, a lot of happy people with their new keyboards as of late. Here's one from Blair Ledoux, and I believe he's got one more closer to yours. Is this closer to yours here, Dave?
Well, mine with all the clear enter shift function keys, alt and control are all dark gray on mine.
Yeah. So actually, this medium gray is closer to the color of the Coco.
It is, yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to mix and match your key colors, and Blair Leduc, his key is looking pretty good there, right? So then we have Michael Brandt, our very own Qui-Gon is here, and he's got the blue keys. So he's got the white highlight keys, the kind of light gray main keys, a red brake key. I don't think there's anything on his brake key, and he's got the blue arrow keys, which are interesting. They look very kind of BBC to me, these blue keys.
Patriotic.
Yeah, red, white, and blue.
The main keys on this one actually suit the case, the slightly yellowed case, so it makes it look like it's meant to be that way.
Yeah, it kind of matches the Coco case cover. That is true.
No more retro bright for him.
Right. Right, and then here's David O'Connor, which we've seen your keyboard now, so we don't probably have to show this off again. That was yours.
There is one you haven't seen. I've put that keyboard in my Coco 1 there. If you go to the right top.
Yes.
Yeah, I just sat it inside the Coco 1 to see how it looked. I think it looks great.
Yeah. Hey, Sean Ernst is out there. Hey, Sean. Yeah, that does look good in a Coco 1. That bright white now, the contrast off of the kind of dark with the black and silver here, that really pops. Those keys pop now on that. So that is kind of cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is cool.
Well, there's going to be a lot of extra keyboards floating around now, huh?
All right. That is true. Right. So here, Paul Shoemaker posted something saying, something about the sound of a dot matrix printer puts a smile on my face. So we're going to hear this. Coco serial to parallel interface. Here's the printer. Tandy DMP 125. Couldn't tell. The shadow was blocking it. Music to our ears, right? Those listening to the podcast will really appreciate this.
That's a modern printer compared to my line printer 7.
Don't make me fire up the TP10.
I'll sample that and plug it into my little converter board and see what it does with the modular synth.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And we got a bunch of pictures from VCF West from last weekend. Here's Mark Overholser, speaking of Steve Banford's game, the very Mario-esque style game, on a green background that doesn't look horrible. If done well, we can take that limited color set and make it look well. So, yeah, a bunch of postings of VCF West on the Facebook group. I need to download these and add them to our little slideshow here on the show. I don't know why Facebook is buffering on the images right now. So here's another picture here. Here is, it looks like Rob Inman behind part of our display. When I say our display, their display that they set up last week. You can see here all the signs.
Stock keyboard.
Was there a Coco Mech on display at VCF West? I don't remember.
No, we did not have one of those.
Okay. So very nice display showing your colors. Another from the VCF West showing off Chet Simpson's Digger 3 on the Coco 3. Nice hardware scrolling, smooth scrolling, cool game. And then we've got a handful of YouTube videos. So Jim Gary, never to disappoint, releasing more and more products for the MC10. This looks like a breakout style game in stunning low resolution.
Blinding fast.
Yes.
Nightmare. Digital to analog converted sound.
Yes. So another release from Jim Gary. Jim Gary just keeps them coming. Also so from the Jim Gary. Go ahead, Ron.
David, you could port these sounds from an MC10 too.
Yeah, it'll work with any single note at a time audio source.
Yep.
All right. Another hit. Another hit from Jim Gary here. I believe this is a random maze generator. And this will just randomly generate what is possibly a maze, although because it's random, I don't know that it's fully navigatable. But this was one line of code that looks like it's just drawing out an endless maze-like display. That's kind of cool, like for a screensaver or something, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. So
almost a 3D sort of look to it too.
Yeah. All right. So this is Amigos Retro Gaming. So they're going to be talking about Dragon 32, 64, Coco Indoor Football, and Backtrack. So I guess they're going to be reviewing some of these games, and I don't want to get into any copyright stuff or anything else. So let's just see if we can scroll through here. Okay, let's see what they're going to show.
UK or Europe for the Project Sam.
I think we showed off some of these the other day too, right?
Code name for it was.
I'm going to go with Scorpion.
No, that's a good name though. No, ironically and amazingly, it was the Pippin.
Okay, so they're showing off games.
That one I haven't tried yet. Have you tried that
not
one?
Not on.
This might be similar to some of the stuff that we were showing off last week, like the top 25 shoot 'em ups for the Dragon. So they're doing a review, but one of the games on here that looked good was an indoor soccer, right? This one looks really good.
The bounce value, the ball.
Yeah.
It also has a
look at the graphics here.
On how it will
That's
bounce
cool.
that is randomly generated.
So that indoor soccer, indoor football.
Interesting to play this game.
So yeah, there's a link to this in the description of this video if you want to check out that YouTube video. So this is coming from Amigos Retro Gaming. They're reviewing some games on the Dragon and Coco. So cool stuff. Another cool video here. So this is, I want to make sure I can read the name here properly. Yeah, I think it's Noriko. I don't want to butcher the name, so I'm not going to try to mispronounce it. But she's been doing a lot of text adventure playthroughs. And in this video here, we're going to be looking at Scott Adams' Grand Adventure number 6, Strange Odyssey, text adventure on the Coco 3. So I'm not sure how much this is to look at, but usually these videos start off with a little bit of a history and an introduction to the game, a little bit of a backstory, and then it's an actual playthrough. So this is kind of a long play if you want to see this entire text adventure played through. So I won't spoil it for you, but I think in the end the butler did it. So link to this in the description too if you want to check that out. And then we have here, Nathaniel Lockhart says, a little experiment I did loading a game from my reel-to-reel tape player onto my Tandy Color Computer.
So I just wanted to show off real quick something I've been messing around with here on my TRS-80 Color Computer 2 64K maxed out. One of the main ways it takes in programs is through audio cassettes.
So here we have reel-to-reel.
Little guy here at a local radio swap meet. Because I didn't want to, buy a full reel just to... I all hooked up. The picture on this is terrible. Probably got to replace like some caps or something.
That's not bad for RF, honestly.
Or maybe even just get a AV kit. But so yeah, I have this guy hooked up. Well, there's the joystick I made.
Okay.
I have, this guy hooked up here to my.
All right, so get to the part where he's loading the stuff.
All right. It shows the prompt. Now let's move back over here, and let's do play.
Oh, he has to manually flip the...
This is on 1 7/8 inch per second on tape speed. I was doing some experiments on this earlier, and see, there it goes. It's loading. I was doing some experiments on this earlier where I was using the higher tape speeds of 7.5 inches per second and 3 3/4.
It's looking like
to exec,
and it didn't work.
There you go.
It's backtrack.
All right, so we're used to loading things off of a normal cassette player. So this was an experiment. Can I do it off of reel-to-reel? And the answer is yes. So kind of cool, right? That's pretty vintage when you think about it. This is
That's what you call keeping it real.
Oh.
Hi-oh.
That by way of just a little bit of talking about vintage and talking about nostalgia, that reel-to-reel deck there is actually an Akai deck, and those two levers, the play and record lever is the first one, fast forward and rewind's the second lever. The very first reel-to-reel that I ever used in the early 80s when I was getting right into analog synthesizers and had the Juno 106, the Juno 6, was the predecessor to that reel-to-reel. It was an Akai 4000 DS, and it had exactly the same levers and yeah, so when I spotted that on there, that brought back fond memories, and I actually posted a comment on his thing on Facebook there about it.
Okay.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's neat, right?
Reel-to-reel.
Yeah, very cool deck.
That did.
Yeah, Ben Drake says this is reel-to-reel cool. Yes. So, by the way, for those of you not aware, we're doing a Coco Controls Moog today on CoCoTALK, if anybody's interested in tuning in for that later on. So that was that event I created. Here's your pictures. Now, there was something else in Discord I need to pull up, which was Matchy's, a little visual of Matchy's program that he's working on. Where did it go? Where did it go? Here we go. So this is something that Matchy's working on in the Coco. And this reminds me of that game. I was mentioning that it'd be cool to have this game I saw on the smartphone where everybody's got the games where you're falling. So you got the downfall and the far fall and the waterfall. A lot of falling games, but there's a smartphone game where you have to actually go up. And this looks like a Coco version of that style game, the never-ending jump-up game. This looks like this is in a pretty cool semi-graphics mode. And we can see from the speeds here, it's pretty quick. And it looks very pixely. So it looks very, retro graded 8-bit-ish, pixel arty. And obviously with this mode here, you have more colors than those two horrific screens we looked at before with the 2 shades of Mario, right? So this is a 9-color mode, or in the right hands, this could be an 11-color mode if you're using the orange palettes on top of that, right? Doodle Jump Clone. Yeah, is what Matchy's saying. Yeah. So that was what the game is called, is Doodle Jump. I didn't even remember the name of the game. I just remember seeing it, and I thought it was cool because everybody's got games where you go down. I like the idea of going up, and then if you miss, you fall. So yeah, very cool. Now, is this an actual game, or is this kind of like a pre-programmed demo, Matchy? We'll wait for him to respond to that. But yeah, so this is a clone of Doodle Jump, and I don't know if this is actual gameplay or if maybe this is just like a demo, a pre-programmed.
I love that rocket pack on the back. That's
yeah,
really cool.
Yeah, that's neat, right? So I would love to see this and play this, yeah, looks very, very cool. So yeah, cool stuff. So I think that's all I had for news this week. If it's possible that I missed something, but I think we've covered a lot of news this week, and I think we've had a lot of show today. We're coming up on 2.5 hours, so I don't know what else to talk about today. I think we've said a lot. We've done a lot. So I'm going to turn it to the panel and to the audience. What else would we like to discuss right now?
Please, not everyone at once.
There's a lot of stuff on Show Me Your Color Computer. A bunch of people have posted on that. You want to bring that up?
I'm going to see if I can find that right now. Show us your tandies.
Yes.
Yep.
Show us, and that is the actual name of the group, ladies and gentlemen. Let me switch back over here to news real quick. So the group is called Show Us Your Tandy Color Computer, and it is created by none other than Ron Delvaux. This is one of about 1,900 different Facebook groups that Ron has created.
I could show you my Tandy Color Computer here. It's,
yes,
it's topless,
and it's beautiful. All right, so we've seen some of these David O'Connor pictures. We've just seen the picture of Wolfenstein. And here is a picture of Brian Weasler showing off some bins that you can buy if you want to store cocoa. So this is a Sterilite.
Starbright.
We've got Coco Tetris going on there with cocos.
No, so that's the container you want to get when you go to the home improvement store for any cocoa enthusiast, or as I've been called, hoarder.
Right, here's Ron Delvaux showing off. What are we looking at here? That's not you?
That's not me.
Okay. Scott Carter's Retro Corner.
Right.
Okay, I see.
Look at how organized.
Yeah. Puts me to shame.
A bunch of Coco 2s and 3s on the side.
Yeah,
on the
model. Yeah, it's a TRS-80. I don't know what this one here is. It looks like a freaking cash register. I'm not sure what the hell that is. I don't know if that's a Brazilian clone or something, for all I know.
Maybe.
And a Model 3 next to it.
Yeah.
The looks of it.
So yeah, this is there's David's keyboard pictures. Here is Chris Poacher posting some of his pictures. He's a Dragon guy in the Dragon group. So he's got a Coco and a cassette and some cartridges next to a Dragon and a cassette. So, yeah, Terry Steen. Terry Steen is here.
That's Dungeons from Kieran Anscombe.
Oh yeah, Kieran Anscombe's Dungeons. I have the cassette of that. That's cool.
Very nice.
Chris Poacher, by the way, too. He's well, I think we were talking about what keyboards I've got here that actually run off the 6809 CPU, and my Ensoniq Mirage runs off a CPU, a 6809 CPU. That Ensoniq Mirage has also got a floppy emulator kit in it, which has got a USB stick, which has got all the floppy drives on it, and that was supplied by Chris Poacher.
Ah, cool. Yeah, I know he's an analog synth guy too, right? So.
Yep.
And so this is a picture of a vehicle that Alan Huffman had at one point in time in history, where he actually had a bumper sticker that says, "I love my MM1." Right? So you get points with us. I'm not sure how many points you get with the ladies for having a bumper sticker like that, but you definitely get points with us, right, for having that, for whatever that's worth.
And that stood for Multimedia One.
Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, so that's another Facebook group. If you can't see enough Coco on Facebook, you can check out Ron's Garage on Facebook. You can check out Show Us Your Tandy Color Computer on Facebook. Here's another one that Alan Huffman had on a storage bin. I love my Coco. So Alan's definitely.
I support OS 9.
Yeah, I support OS 9. I support
Yeah.
OS 9. Yeah,
It looks like 650.
Yeah, 650, right? So.
Well, the first step is always admitting that you have a problem.
All right, here's Ron Delvaux showing off his planetarium program on. Oh, there's one on the Tandy and one on the Coco.
Yeah, and I converted it to black and white to make it look old, and someone said on there that it looks like an ad for Radio Shack.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Because of the perspective.
It looks like a
Camera
vintage computer ad. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, lots of stuff on the Show Us Your Tandy Color Computer page there. So check that out. If you're not a member, ask nicely, and maybe Ron Delvaux will let you join and post your pictures. Show us your tandies, and you get some beads. When you show us your tandies, you get beads. Right? So.
David,
Cool
you had
beans.
another question from Richard Atkinson. It says, does the Ensoniq ESQ1 run a 6809? Or do you know?
I think that ran a 68,000 from memory. I think they changed. I think it was only the Mirage that ran the 6809. I might be wrong there, but I'm fairly sure that's the case.
All right.
All right. Well, what else, guys?
Well, I think we should recap. In this show, we've named beards.
We've named beards. What's the
what
final
else?
name for David's beard? The Zed?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta. Yeah.
ZZ bottom.
ZZ bottom. So.
It's roadkill.
Roadkill. Ron's is roadkill.
I'll have to. We could run a competition, and I'll pick a winner, and we can maybe. I don't know.
This
How
about Mark Underholser?
Yeah, Underholser. I'll have this might be the first time where we've had a show where the panel size has remained consistent and the panel members have remained consistent the entire show. We usually have people kind of come and go. It kind of ebbs and flows, right? So it's been a panel of about a half dozen. So we've been a skeleton crew this week.
Well, look at all this screen real estate I have.
I know.
Look at this. I'm not like the size of a postage stamp.
Yeah.
You can see what's going on in the background. You can see the $5 Uke. You can see the Tandy assembly badge.
Yes.
I got something on my nose.
So, yeah.
Poor guy.
Thing is, we forgot to check to let anyone else in.
Hey,
look, I got my Coco. My Coco 3 is topless.
Awesome. Look at Ron's getting a sandwich delivery.
Oh, wow, it's not delivery. It's DiGiorno. I didn't know there was a covered lunch with this.
Yes.
Hello, Mrs. Ron.
Hello, Mrs. Delvaux.
Yeah, Mrs. Delvaux with the sandwich and chips.
Do you have enough sandwiches for everybody, Ron?
She said, Mrs. Delvaux, that's your mother.
Okay. We got like 32 people watching us right now, plus the panel. So we're gonna need about 40 sandwiches, Ron. Have you got that much? Can you?
All right, keep bringing them in, Ron.
Just upload them via.
So Joe Burnett says you should name your beard Ensoniq the Hedgehog.
I end up with a rash on my chest.
If you're experiencing a burning sensation, please consult your physician. So cool. Have we beat this one to death? Have we?
Yes, I have to eat.
Ron has to eat. Okay. Usually Ron has to pee. So
it's all about Ron's natural functions that he needs to take care of.
Yes.
Right. Something going in, something going out.
Yeah, Ron, you're welcome to hang up now. We might just continue talking for a few more minutes.
Then.
But I'm not saying hang up. I'm saying you're welcome to. Before you go, thank you for being here. We've enjoyed having you, Ron.
I do have one question. I have a question for Ron.
Yes.
What kind of sandwich is it, and what do you have there on the side?
It's Swiss cheese, and it looks like it's corned beef.
Corned beef.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Corned beef, and then what do you got there? Some chips.
You have a red plastic.
Red plastic plate. Are these like your classic lay chips, just plain potato chips?
Potato chips or crisps for our international viewers.
Real chips. Don't care for those ones that are all the same. You know what?
Like a Pringle.
Pringle.
I'm sensing a new segment here.
Yeah, no.
What is Ron having?
What's Ron having for lunch? Yeah. And after lunch, we're gonna play
After
what's
lunch?
after lunch will be what's in Ron's beard. So can you name that crumb?
This could be a double flusher.
Double flusher.
Okay, well, Ron, it's been nice having you on.
Oh, good night. Check, please.
Waiter.
Take care, Ronnie. All right. So, parting thoughts, closing comments, anything else? Mark D. Overholser, any parting thoughts?
Glad to be here like usual, and it was a good, fun weekend last weekend, and it's been good as usual. Glad to see everybody.
Yes. Well, Ron, we can't thank you, Ron. Mark Overholser, we can't thank you enough for being part of our Coco consortium last week at VCF West and flying the Coco colors and doing our system and our community proud. So thank you very much for doing that. Thank you. Jason the Coco Man Reichard will be attending Tandy Assembly. Will there be any new products you'll be unveiling?
We'll see. If I do, they'll probably be at VCF Midwest also.
Okay. Well,
I'm doing both. I'm doing the double.
Double dipping. Double down.
Double down, and don't forget Nightmare Highway, 20% off. I believe the promo code
Highway.
The promo code is Division by Zero Air.
So if you don't have a new product, you'll have existing products for sale. Boomerangs, wallabies.
I'll have switcheroos. I'll have wallabies. I might even have that. I might have something new-ish.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what the people want.
How about a switch a wallaby-a-roo? Who knows? All right. Mark Bosley, parting thoughts.
No. On those badges, though, they did make a 64K one. Nick mentioned he had one.
Okay, Nick Marinsky's. And we move it over. Okay, so that's a factory original.
As far as I know.
Okay.
I acquired it that badge.
Okay, yeah. I just don't know. And listen, it's possible. I don't remember seeing them, but listen, I didn't see everything. So, so Ken Reichert says the promo code is /dev/null, right? Dev null, right? So there you go. For you Linux guys.
I have something. Something
Yes.
on my forehead.
All right. So they may have existed, the 64K badges. My gut tells me I don't know that there was a factory silver, because by the time they were doing factory 64Ks, we were in the white Cocos. So I don't know that there was but maybe when you bought an upgrade, they had some of the badges that came with an upgrade. I don't ever remember seeing a stock new in box 64K silver Coco, but those badges may have still existed. So, and obviously they existed in some form because Mark's got one. David O'Connor, thank you for showing off us all kinds of keyboards, Coco keyboards and musical keyboards and Coco's controlling keyboards. It was a treat for the ears and the eyes. Thank you, sir.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure as usual, and a bit of a experimental journey, which a modular synthesis always is. So
Yeah. And we look forward to seeing and hearing more as your journey takes you further and as you find out more things and do more things. Would love to be along for that ride. What the hell are you laughing at? Are you messing? Is it the mouse pointer? Is that saying there's something on your nose?
Something on me.
I'm like, what the hell is wrong with Jason this whole frickin' time? It took Mark's giggling for me to really figure that out. I'm not. Yeah, subtlety does not play well with me. I apologize. So, are you better now, Jason? Jason, are you better?
I feel better now. That
okay.
It looks like I'm gonna have to do something to the wall now. There.
Okay, so no more irritations. Okay.
Jason himself.
Hi-oh.
Now, just so you know, this is seldom known, but it looks like it's pronounced Moog because there's two O's there, but it's actually pronounced Moog, correct?
Yeah, that's right. As in Mogue. That's how. Yeah.
Moog, like
actually,
rogue.
Should there be a lot on that?
The actual real pronunciation of it is something like Moch.
Like because it's German or something, or
it's Klingon.
That's romantic.
Klingon.
Bob Moog actually spoke about it himself, about the proper pronunciation, but he said most people pronounce it Moog, which is actually technically incorrect, but it didn't worry him at the time. But he said if you really want to pronounce it the way his family pronounces it, it's pronounced Moog.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, like Larry
and
Moe
and they're somewhere in the Carolinas, I think, North or South Carolina, because a guy who used to work for me, I managed him. He ended up getting a job there, and I had to be kind of like one of his references. So I on 2 different occasions, I was on the phone with people from the Moog plant somewhere in one of the Carolinas vouching for this guy. So that's my connection to Moog. Is that I have a friend of mine who I used to work with that I have vouched for twice. When he got his job and when he got his promotion, I was a character reference for him on 2 occasions. So Dutch is what Richard Atkinson says.
Yeah, right. He's right. That's correct.
Okay,
Yep.
soft G, Moog. All right.
Yep.
So anywho, we're going to pronounce it as we do. But thank you, David O'Connor. As always, it is a delight and a treat to have you and your talents that you share with us and the world. And speaking of talents that are shared with the world, Nick Marotta, thank you as well for your many talents.
Very much.
And thank you for not sharing them with us this week. So,
Oh, nice to hang out with my friends. It really is.
Boy.
With friends like this, who needs enemas? All right. So we are going to play the outro. So if you have any last words to say, think about them, and then we're gonna do our outro. If I can find my outro in my, I have so many scenes now. I have so many scenes. Here's my outro. Actually, before I'm gonna segue into the outro with a little Nick Marionettes clip here, and then we're going to do our outro, and then I'll be back for final thoughts.
Nick Marionettes on electricity.
Crikey! Electricity's a fad. The biggest market is with open flame.
Brought to you by Nitrous 9, Ease of Use Edition. Hashtag OS9 Forever.
This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click the Patreon link at our website at CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
CoCoTalk would not exist without the community, its cast, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholser, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Tom C., Rob Inman, Mark Bosley, Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, David O'Connor, Brian Weasler, Terry Steggy, Nick Marotta, John Strong, and many more, especially to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and James Diffendaffer for making my head explode. Please help support the Coco community by visiting some of its various contributors. A list of resources is available at imacoconut.com. That's IMACOCONUT.com. The CoCoTalk theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. CoCoTalk is an unscripted. There we go. Name so nice, we must say it thrice. There's Jason and his MC10. And we just got visited by Jim Brain from Retro Innovations. His parting thoughts were, like the relief one feels leaving the porcelain throne after a visit to the all-day flaming burrito bar, it's the end of CoCoTALK. All right, no truer words have ever been spoken. And he says, now I'm going to walk back under the bridge. All right. So
it's pretty fiery.
he is prolific. If only his products had the same level of quality of his trolling, he might have a career at that. So that's it, guys. Final thoughts.
Speaking of burn,
Larry, Moog, and Curly.
All right, I'm going to press the button on the live video stream. Say goodbye, live video stream.
Bye, live video stream.
All right, I'm stopping the stream.